Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Hey, Mix.
Hey, man.
You guys there? Hello.
Yeah.
How's it, Rob?
Hi.
You're going to sit there together?
I'm just fixing him some tea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Hey, you guys, Rob and Mix.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
Oh my
everyone.
God, cheers. Cheers. Welcome to our session with you. So maybe should we start with a little just hello from everybody?
Yes, hello.
Oh yeah, we can do a hello. That's fine.
Okay, but are we going to see you, Mix, or not? And who's that? Ash.
Yes,
Hello.
Hello, Ash.
Hi,
The
Amanda.
voices behind the camera. Hello, everybody. Do we get to see you as well, Ash? Do we get to see the...
Zit uw nagen in hier.
Let's
Oh,
see
boy.
the crew. Woohoo! That's awesome. Hello.
I'm just very shy. He never says anything.
Okay, guys, well, welcome to our little group. We're happy to have you. Thanks, Rob, for joining, and Mix and Ash. You're definitely quite a group to be following, and we're really excited to have you on tonight. So I don't know, Rob, if you would like to give us a little bit of an intro to how, a little bit about your story and how you got into where you are now, your remote viewing work. And then maybe I want to talk with you a little bit about sort of who and who's you and the game's effect and some of the latest stuff that you're busy with. But maybe just a little bit of your background.
Sure. Well, my background, I guess, it really, obviously when I was a child, there were things that were very coincidental. Yeah, when I was younger, I had some stuff occur, which sort of, it put me really in a place where I wasn't quite, I knew that there was going to be, I knew I wasn't going to have an easy life, put it that way. I knew my life wasn't going to be that simple and that easy because of some of the experiences. So there were these things that sort of got me to pay attention to the fact that there was something else going on besides just myself, if you know what I mean, like just me. There was something more about me that I was happy with it, but it was still something I knew was going to end up being part of my future, or it's part of my past as well, in fact. Anyhow, but then there was some big, the next major change is when I went to the military, and I ended up in sort of junior military intelligence, you could say, going to the usual routes, in the military, but then ended up in signals happened because I ended up, this might sound a bit strange, but this is what really happened in the military. And this has to do with the remote viewing in the background. So it's all part of it. Is I ended up being trained as a signals thing. And I used to repair all the signal masts and things like that. These sort of, I wouldn't call them hydraulic masts, but I was very good at doing it. So I was the only guy that used to do it. And it was very far away in a bush camp that was run by just a captain, which is sort of not normal. Most of the time, a captain wouldn't really run a base. It would be like a kind of a...
Sorry, guys, there was dirt on the screen.
Okay, that's much better.
Yeah, there's no base, there's no military base. It's run by anyone less than the rank of a... what's the captain again? A colonel or a major. But anyway, this captain used to come around, and I was there with the Portuguese crowd and whatever. They were different signals people. So I ended up inside, and then that was where I was. But at the same time that I was at that base, it was an underground military base that was nuclear proof. it was floating actually, it was a building that was floating in water, suspended in water. It was about 4 or 5, I think it was 5 stories. And, the door is that typical door that you would have that's really, you see on the photographs of Cheyenne Mountain. It had all of that. It had all the telephones on the wall, an entire wall of telephones from the wall. It was huge. There were just all these old telephones that you dialed with. No, so they didn't have cell phones. This is like 1980. 1988 and 1989. Yeah. 1990. Yeah. So they had all these phones, and those phones just dialed anybody in South Africa and also to people around the world. Anyhow, they were picking up signals from all over the place, and that's what this base was for. But at the time, in the evenings, when I finished work and did all my work, or whatever, all the other guys used to fuck around, inside the army base. You know how they do? They just make noise and they play games and talk to each other and do what army guys do. Yeah? And then I had a friend there. He was the chef, and the chef had keys to the kitchen. And then the chef ended up training me without anybody knowing about it. It was very strange. And then we went to the mess kitchens, and all the lights were obviously off. And then we used to lock ourselves inside the kitchen, which was quite big. We used to sit there and sort of, make coffee or whatever. And then he kind of trained me on a different kind of science. It was kind of funny. And that happening, because when you look back, you think it's normal, but when you live later on in your life, you think that was just very strange that happened. And he was a very bright person, and he would read a book in like 3 days. He was just one of these super, like these people that just digest books and throw them up and get another one and start another one. He was just he was like a machine. It was unbelievable. He was so intelligent. And so we used to smoke cigarettes and drink coffee, and we spent a year in the kitchen in the evenings. Because I'm not going to hang out with a bunch of, kind of average guy variety type. I mean, they're very sweet and they make me laugh. But I really wanted to I was only 20 then. I was ambitious and interested. And I picked it up instantly. I made friends with him instantly. I could just tell that something was different about this person. So anyway, it was we had a very strong friendship, and so we ended up. That's where I got some training, and then obviously I've also been to different places in the world. I've been to the States. I've been to sort of around the Caribbean. I've been to different places in the world to learn different things, and just to get. I'm generally quite cagey about where I've gone and what I've done, because I feel that if I was to tell you exactly the things that I've done or where I went or who I did things with, it would be. I generally still keep that private, if you know what I mean. But when I was a child, as soon as I was 5. I used to go and visit people. I used to go. My mom, actually, I need to interview my mom just to show people that it was true. I used to go down the road, used to knock on people's doors, used to say, "Hi, my name's Rob," or whatever. And then they'd say, "Oh, who are you?" or whatever, and "Where are you from?" And I say, "Oh, I live down up here." "Oh, really? That's interesting." And then I would make friends with everybody. Now, they generally put me on the kitchen counter, because that's literally how short how small I was. And then I'd end up talking to these people and finding out about their lives. What's your name and what do you do? And I'd want to know everything about them. They became really fascinating. So I used to come home with all these presents. They used to give me something, like something funny, like an ornament or something as a present. And then I'd have all these ornaments, all, in my little room where I'd stay with my flat with my mom. That was just really my mom and I. And so that started off. It really just started it. And then when I was really young. So I suppose it didn't really start. It's always been there. And then beyond that, I've helped a lot of people. I guess, of course, I'm sure a lot of your friends have. But does that kind of give you there's probably more I could say, but I don't know if you want me to say.
Yeah, no, that's fine. It's fine. Your sound is buffering a little bit, but I mean, we can hear you mostly. So, Rob, I know you've been very busy with the games effect, and I'm quite interested in sort of maybe talking, I don't know, a little bit about sort of who is who for you. I don't know if you're prepared to share a little bit about that, and how does that link in with the games effect and the no games effect, and sort of, we've been talking a little bit about quantum consciousness and all of that today, and like the siphoning of energy, of human consciousness in a way, away from itself, like splitting it and harvesting it. So I don't know. Yeah, and you also, if you want to talk a little bit around that subject, including, the physics, which you were mentioning the other day a little bit, like what is the role in creating a no games effect at the moment? That was quite fascinating.
It is fascinating. It's really just actually quite sophisticated, the whole thing. It's not as straightforward as most people think. This, just so that people have an idea, if you take, that they say the laid chessboard, 5D chessboard, whatever, that type of thing, it really does perform very well with that function. So it's quite sophisticated, just like the 5D chess game that we've been talking about. It really is a gamer's choice. In fact, if you take the gaming where they game something militarily, they game it out. How they will create something. For example, Facebook was gamed out, by given over to. What's the guy's name with the strange eyes again? That guy with the strange eyeballs, yeah. Like once it was ready, they kind of could see by actually gaming it out that it really would succeed. And I think the same might have been for all sorts of what you could call social media, that perfect DARPA kind of.
Yeah.
It worked really well, yeah. So like that, it's being gamed out, it works, and it's monitored. Just so the monitoring of it is also quantum computer that's tracking all keywords, phrases, and profilings, so they can get an idea of how well they are doing with this with the spreading of with the movement. Yeah, right. So its effectiveness can be tracked very easily. And both sides are tracking both sides. It is still black hats, white hats. It's a natural tracking. So on the physics of really, what it was is if you take, I'd say with the physics side of things, pushes people away from, if a particle is positively charged, it actually pushes things. It has a force that pushes things away from it. And if it's negatively charged, it pulls things in. So yeah, we're kind of not so good at doing the Zoom thing. It's the first time, guys, so you're just going to have to be a little patient.
That's fine.
Okay. So I wrote something. Yeah, I think I read it to Amanda the other day. Yeah, so basically, I'll just take it from the top of my head, but people are now trapped. So what they've done is they've caused us to be trapped in the game, because if you take people losing their businesses and all of the things that people can't have, it's created a whole lot of can't haves, because what has happened is essentially, obviously the government, or just, you can call it the state, and the states all over the world, every place every place you go to is a state, any country you go. So let's just call it that. When I say the state, I mean generically, that's all over the world. So now you have the people and you have the state, and you have all of the arrangements in between. Now, the state was at an advantage because people felt that they were patriotic and the state would still help it. The States is a very good example. People still believe in let's say, Washington, D.C., or being patriotic, even if there's some corruption, it doesn't mean that the state is completely evil or whatever. But in fact, it really sort of kind of is the people that are controlling. So everybody knows that now, but the movement started. It really had to make sure that people ended up attacking the government. It had to put people up against and cause them to kind of attack and, you know, riot and protest. So a while back, I did really kind of predict that would happen because it's part of the plan at the end of the day. So it has, okay, now it's happening proper, whereas before it was just sort of maybe a little bit. Now it's big time. It's all over Europe, all over. So it forces the public to attack the state. So they are attacking the state, and so, because they have nowhere to go. There is no help available from anywhere. And the restrictions that are being put on these people. But here it is. Okay, I found it. I've got such a huge Word document. I'm sorry. I've got
That's fine.
10 pages of information. So it's action at a distance. And that's what physics is. It's how it works, like with magnetism. You've got the fields around magnets. They can't be seen. Physics, most scientists can't explain it, but it is there, and it's a charge. So what it is that the government used to pull people in. It was like almost like a vacuum. So the people were attracted to the state. They'd get their education through them, and they would get their social security. And so they were very dependent. People are actually quite dependent on the state, especially with, lots and lots and lots of people who wouldn't have a job if they weren't being paid by the states. There were lots of things over 4, 5, 6, the last 4 or 5 decades, almost, longer than that or whatever. But people, they need the state and all the things that the state gives them, but they had to get the people to attack the state. So that's what's occurring now, because the state was like a vacuum. So now everything seemed fine. So then they changed the situation around by actually almost like changing the charge of the situation so that the state would become the enemy to the people by imposing such heavy barriers. So in a game's effect, if there are freedoms, too many freedoms available, if there's like a totality of barriers, if it's all barriers, then eventually there's no game anymore. It cancels the game out because there's no freedoms available at all. That's exactly what they caused. They caused that just by limiting everything. There was all these ridiculous rules, whatever, and that just ruins the game. So eventually it becomes like it forces them to jump out of the game. They end up not being able to function. They're going broke. They're losing their jobs. They have to get this cure. They have this. It's the whole long list of crap. And so it forces the situation into a no game. The same thing applies when you have all these freedoms, and it's just freedom to do this, to do that. It's just freedoms everywhere to do anything you want. And then, of course, it isn't a game's effect either, because you cannot play it. I was saying, I made an example with like a tennis match. If you could just hit a ball anywhere, even if it went out the tennis court or if it went left or right or hit the net, and you just felt you had all these freedoms to just play this game, it wouldn't be a game. You have to have barriers and freedoms, a balance of them in order to maintain some kind of game effect that people are willing to participate. So it's part of this you could call it like a device that actually is agitating, I don't know, a couple of billion people on the planet, but it's working. It's working. So at the end of the day, the people now can't have, there's no freedoms for them. So let's say it's all barriers, and then it becomes a no game effect because they don't want to play anymore. They can't do anything. There's no more future. I mean, if you look at the future, where do you find future? If you had to sit by yourself with a cup of coffee on the stove, what would you consider future in your mind? You would think there isn't any. It's a blank. There is no idea of what the future could be in a year's time. I don't think so. You've done it within maybe tomorrow or next week or maybe a month from now or something, or 2 months. People have no prediction. Prediction is gone. So, and that's what I know games effect is, because no one's playing anymore. The best thing, all we know is survival. That's all that can be understood. We need to survive. We need to find people we can trust and depend upon. We've got to share our space with each other because we can't get, there's no real communication out there because there's huge barriers. And part of games effect is stop communication. That's one of the, there's a long list, about 50 things, 50 items that list all the way down. And one of them is stop communication. So communication is stopped. Policemen can't talk to the press. They can't, they don't want to get, you see around the world, they cannot speak, they can't talk. Certain whistleblowers, everybody who talks gets fired immediately to stop everything. All this religious leaders can't tell you that's something about the state doing this or that. So, okay. So that is what the games effect is centered around. And I'll just give you some other examples. Let me just give you some reality. I don't know. The first board was more of an introduction. But if I'm going on too long with one question, then I will just let me know. So basically, I wrote this down here. So you have like the scale of communication. You have two-way communication and everybody's happy with that. And then that's when it's actually not solid and everybody's happy and people are sharing things. And that's where the emotional level is very high. That's when people are doing well. And for us, okay, we've had quite a hard time here in South Africa, but in some places they were doing really well, people are happy, and things are going on quite well. And then the two-way communication becomes serious and drops down to two-way communication is quite solid, and people become serious. And then it drops below that and it becomes a one-way communication. That's where on that board I mentioned a one-way communication line. It's actually a form of contract, which is correct. This is the state talking, it's the media talking, it's everybody. It's always coming towards us. We're absorbing all of that. We have to listen to what they say. We have to follow these instructions. And when we want to say something, there's nowhere we can put it. It's like dial a number to talk to the government. It's not there. It's just, there's nobody here. There's no help. The help's gone. It's totally gone. So that's what a one-way communication is. Although we think it's not, it really is.
So that's part of the games effect. That's the shutting down of everything. Correct. So that we can't speak. There's no other message. There's just their message. It's just...
That's correct, yeah. And we might have discussions, but we'll just be talking about what they've imposed there. So we don't have any, it's almost like a cork that's going to shoot out the bottom, at the end of a ginger beer bottle. When the ginger beer can be quite unstable.
Yeah, it's quite a sophisticated system. Hey? It's quite a sophisticated game because everybody's talking about their oppressions and nobody's talking about anything else. So you kind of stay stuck because you don't free your mind to go anywhere.
Between the state and nowhere. You've got nowhere to go. You're on the street. So where do people put themselves on the street? Because what are they going to do? Like cry on their neighbor's shoulder? They can do that for a while, but eventually someone has to do something. But what the state does is it puts beings into pain. So, you feel the pain. I don't know about you, your groups, like quite spiritual in nature, but you can feel the pain. The pain comes because pain's an emotion. It's actually an actual emotion, not like, you get pain if you get physically injured. But emotionally, it's also a level that's like cheerfulness or enthusiasm. Pain is a thing. And because you're being stopped. Games effect runs a can't have on the people who, like us. You guys can't have this, can't have that. There's too many can't haves. The idea is that we're used to having things and then they suddenly drop a can't have on us. And then I just wanted to say with that too, that the one-way communication line, and what happens is people now have a whole lot of misunderstood words because they don't really understand anything about the medical profession. They don't understand what cancel culture. Okay, we do. We know all about cancel culture. But so now they want to cancel this in America or cancel that or take this away or whatever. And then people have a lot of confusion and misunderstandings about it. It's very complicated for some people to understand who Black Lives Matter are or who are they fighting and why did they pull the statue down and who's doing this and who's doing that. Because, of course, people are educated by Rockefeller. As we all have, we've all received a Rockefeller education and we all get Rockefeller medicine when we go to the Mediclinic. It's kind of the Rockefeller system. Over the last 100 years when they hammered out all of the natural medicine and all of that homeopathic genius that we used to live off and survive out Rockefeller. So what happens basically is that we are not as well educated as we thought we were. Only when the thing starts collapsing like it is now, it's not intentional, it's done like proper. Fine, you do the false flag and we always put the people on the street and they'll end up attacking the government. Then the government will attack back with dogs and vaccines and water cannons and whatever they want. And that's good. That's what he wants. He wants the government to attack back. That's what it really is achieving. That's well. The more they attack back, the more they spray and hit and bash people. Not like actual wanting violence, but more confrontations that are taking place, the better it is. We really need people to, and then below the one-way communication line is something below that. And what's below that is symbolism. Symbolism doesn't come, it's in this world, symbolism, but it comes from, millennia back. Is that when communication becomes symbolism, it forces people that are, let's say people, we'll call them people, will actually be in propitiation to symbolism because they don't really quite understand what it means. And if you remember, is it Albert Pike or Pike that 33-degree Mason dies? I was reading some of his literature, whatever, and he did actually say the cool thing about symbolism is that if you're not part of us, you won't really understand the true meaning. It's like special for us. It wasn't meant for outsiders. It's meant for us. If we must know the real meanings behind the symbols. They might have an idea, but we know what the real meaning. Of course, he was talking about symbolism, but symbolism is actually not isness. It's an alter isness. Sorry. So you get isness, which is what we are. We are an isby. A being is living in a constant state of constant isness. Of course, and they have a beingness because they are, they decided to be. Decided to be. So I'm going to be being in a constant state of this, and that makes perfect sense. When I was talking about symbolism, just to be clear, it's when you get so immersed in symbolism that it means it's like a hidden meaning. It's so that's the occult part of it that they're so addicted to, because to them it's obviously hidden communication. When stopping communication is part of the game that they're playing, part of the game effect, they have to stop communication and they have to change communication. So symbolism is when you're actually changing it into a symbol, so obviously then people do think, well, no, they don't really understand what it means. And that's been going on for a long time, but now with this game effect. Everybody knows this symbol and that thing and this thing, and they're starting to all share and educate each other.
I just want to ask, because what's occurring to me is that, and you can just tell me if you can hear me properly,
Okay.
that, this is like an MK Ultra programming setup, right? It's like take people down and down and down to less and less functioning, and then insert, put symbols in, and then insert meaning, their own meaning. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can. I can.
So it's almost like, okay, for me, isness comes as a foundation to everything. And then symbols are like, you can actually train people to interpret symbols through the subconscious mind. So
no, you can do that. No, you can. You can do a stimulus response thing with symbols.
it's because I see that everywhere. I'm seeing the cabal basically trying to take control of all the symbols.
Yes,
They're trying
correct.
to take every symbol and program them in their direction. So every time we see something that could actually be like a mudra or or the quantum field of all potential, or something that's actually a link to our power, they are now taking it all away. They're saying, the triangle is bad, and the eye is bad, and the checkerboard field is bad, and it's like every single thing that can be an access point to our own subconscious mind and our own knowing is being demonized. That's what I'm seeing.
Yes, it is true. I mean, they've ruined the good parts of it.
Yeah, they've taken all our symbols away. They've basically taken all the symbols, the rose, all these beautiful things. The rose is now something, and the spiral is something terrible. And, it's like what they're doing with the variants, now it's like that every area of power is becoming like a variant, like a disease. I mean, what a bunch of assholes.
Even the beautiful monarch butterfly, it's also been hijacked.
Well, I can tell you the one thing.
You can't say butterfly. You can't make a 6. You can't make a triangle. You can't have an eye. We need to take the whole lot back. Seriously, we do.
Exactly. We're going to reclaim them.
We have to reclaim some territory, because that's another thing that I was going to say to you guys is like, it's like they've hacked into our consciousness till, and they've actually basically taken it as best as they can, like in that games effect that you guys are talking about. And actually, if we think that every symbol equals the devil, and it's actually just a gateway to the subconscious mind, then of course we're not going to do it. We're never going to use it. But in actual fact, every symbol can be used either for good or for bad. Not every symbol. I mean, I'm not saying every symbol because I don't know every symbol, but I have seen them methodically say, like the checkerboard field, the quantum field, the checkered floor, which is, and the rabbit and the quantum field, like that's definitely sort of, bad. But in actual fact, when you look into the meaning of it, it's actually just the quantum field. It's symbolic of the quantum field, of what's expressing itself as a potential and what's lying as unexpressed. I mean, that's what the checkerboard field is. What is bubbling up in the quantum field is what's being observed.
Yeah, and the whole duality thing with the black and the white.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like it's okay. There's nothing wrong with the quantum field. No, the quantum field is the cue, is just an expression of what we're doing in consciousness. So, why would they want to take that away? They would want to take it away, every single thing that could be an opening to our power.
Exactly.
No fucking ways. They can't have it. We must take it back.
Actually,
reclaim our symbols.
Yeah, man.
There is always this, a problem A problem is a collision of forces or intention that's colliding. It's something counter anything else. And a polarity is like the opposite, is it?
Okay, I heard the opposite, like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's inverted. So a problem is this way, pushing. Force, counter force, intelligence, counter intelligence, which is what Q is. That's what Q is. It's intelligence, counter intelligence. I mean, counter intelligence versus intelligence. It's a war of counter intelligence, which is lies, versus intelligence. And that's really what it is. That's the isness of it. It's machinery. That's what it's doing.
And that's where you
counter intelligence to.
Yeah. It's like you talk about in the extroversion of the introversion, you know, so where things have become sort of inwardly collapsed, how to sort of externalize that again. So it's in a way, it is like a review, so that we get to sort of see once again, you know, what's been so deeply hidden.
Yes, correct. So I was just saying that symbolism on that specific item is aesthetics, which is the 10th dimension. It's up here. It's really it's the viewpoint of aesthetics, pure aesthetics. So it's very spiritual and very special and very sacred. So that's our symbolism.
And very powerful.
And very powerful, yes, very, very highly significant. I mean, we watched last night. We watched Stargate, and there was this. What was it called? SG something or whatever. Anyhow, it's the one where they end up in Egypt. And anyway, there's this planet of let's say like people that are completely low tech. They just like what do you call those people? Like nomads in the desert. Yes, exactly. Well done, Mix. Like nomad, like a nomadic entity. And as soon as they saw the symbol, the time warp, whatever, you know, the Stargate. Anyway, so he arrives in this world that has no technology. And as soon as they see the symbol, they all bow down to the symbol and all go down and get the whole thousands of them just all kneel down because they see this thing around his neck.
So like the symbol's like a representation.
It was the eye of Horus around his neck, which was on a pendant. He got Eye of Ra, which they sort of dug up 70 years ago when they were excavating in Egypt, and they found this beautiful medallion, and the old lady gave it to him, and it's part of the story of the movie. But that's aesthetics, you know, there's something very special it's supposed to be. And then, of course, the Cabal use it because everything, communication becomes change. So it's an alter-isness of communication. And because you're an isby and you depend on isness, they make your environment a not understood. So you're in an environment that you don't understand. And that's how they defeat us. That's how they drain us of our abilities. That's why we know that there's something funny with the fact that you don't have more ability. You know, you get that feeling where you think, why don't I have more ability than what I've got right now? It's
almost like you can feel that you knew you could do things that you can't now.
It's like upsetting. And then, but it's because all of the environment around us by the Cabal is an alter-isness. Because we're an isness, so it doesn't go with us. It's been altered. So now we don't understand what we're looking at. And if you look back in time at Tartaria, or if you look at the world that world of, and if you look at some beautiful, I wish I could show you, I can't show you now, but some beautiful photographs of amazing things were built in like the Middle East, incredible things that are so mind-boggling. You know, those mind-boggling things that people would make. When you look at them, you get this huge emotional effect. You kind of like go, it's so mysterious and so beautiful and so amazing. And that is actually the supernatural that is embedded in those. They're still there today. You can go there and you feel the supernatural feeling. It's kind of a sense of beauty, because it really is. I mean, the thing that I was playing it here. There's a video. It's called 8 Hours of the world that the Cabal is hiding from us, and it's 8 hours of all these photographs of all these amazingly beautiful things that are so perfectly constructed. They're flawless and they're beautiful, and they're all made by. And so there's a time that. It's like the rug got pulled out for months, and now the days that we're walking in now, everything's built by machines, and we don't know who did it. We don't know who made it. This came on a container, some ship or something, and arrived here, and everything's manufactured out of a factory. There's no people involved, or they're nameless, or there could be nobody. And everything comes from China with technology, So people are very good, like even old people. And even a guy that's 70, you go to him and he doesn't understand anything about the world, or doesn't know what's going on, and doesn't keep track of anything. So that's also part of our inheritance that has been, we've been robbed of that. So, but on a good note, you are right about the symbols and everything. They're special, and they are, they will outlive the Cabal completely. They'll just, they're in a panic because they don't want their, to them, life is about survival. I've got a whole thing on the Cabal that I remote viewed and wrote down to try and explain a very technical application of why they are what they are, and how they became that way, and what they be used. But you go down to a level where everything inverts the other way around. I'm trying to explain that. So you go from the zinc, go all the way down, and eventually get so low down, but it's all about energy. So we've become the resource now. So they're living off God, you could say, basically, if you wanted to.
Yeah.
They're actually using us as a resource that they can maintain, because to them it's survival. It's like when somebody says, I feel like a hamburger, fine, go talk to the cow, because I want my hamburger, I want to stay. That type of mentality. It's like, okay, well, we need to survive. This is our mission. Yes, we practice cannibalism. Yeah, sure, we pedophiles, and that's not even from this planet. Just like we're not from the humanoid. Humanoid is not from here, so that the same thing applies to the Cabal. Pedophilia, cannibalism.
Yeah.
It's like, why do they practice it? They've practiced for millennia and millennia, and it's just that the priesthood that was introduced here as the kind of, you could say, like the managers, the sort of jail, they would manage that's the wardens, the prison wardens. Introduce those habits. They're just bad habits, It's, but this, I mean, obviously, we talk about unhappy things, but it's succeeding at its mission. Let me just get my laptop so I can get. I do have a lot of items, but the one, at the end of the day, the game. We are all sitting, who are talking right now, we all know that we're in a no games effect situation, because we don't care about making money or ambitions or career. We only in survival. We know we're going to fight. So what can we do? And the one thing about this whole kind of white hat and everything, the whole thing, I want to say them did say a near-death experience. That's true. But part of no games effect is neither alive nor dead. That's exactly correct. So on the one side, on the Cabal side, if you're in the games effect and if you're kind of working in the system, because being in the games effect is working in the system, being a yuppie, buying a nice car and making bucks, and the whole kind of yuppie mentality. I'm winning the game, I'm making money. Is to be alive. To be alive is the whole point when you're stuck in the games effect. And then when you start to become spiritual, or you get into existence, like I said to you, existence being a major plus point, you then end up actually being neither alive nor dead. Like, I'm not alive as a person. I never consider myself to be alive. As far as I'm concerned, I don't exist. Actually, I don't need to exist. I do, but it's not a necessity. I don't have to do anything I don't want to do,
That's
So
deep.
I can-
That's super
I do
deep.
something Well, it's actually quite simple because
Like
I don't
going
have
back to the
any
quantum
opinions
field,
about
you know?
anything. Yeah, it is quite deep.
Like
but
it's-
if you to be, yeah,
You know, going
be
back,
neither
it's like
alive.
Schrodinger's cat, you know, is the cat alive or dead? Well, it depends which way you look at it. So it's like we have to live
yeah,
in a probability, you know, like in a place where we can observe whatever we want. We can observe ourselves to be alive or dead. It doesn't really matter because we're not trapped in a physicality.
yeah. No, we're not. We think we are. The biggest trick the Cabal ever played on Homo sapien was to convince them that they weren't infants. That's the whole mission. That's what's going on here on this planet. What is Earth about?
That's all that's ever been going on.
Teliac is all about it's all about being dead forever. That's why everything's about death. This is a death stuff. What is all the death about? Death, this and that, and sacrifice, and I'm willing to be sacrificed, and all this weird stuff. Controlling bodies and owning bodies, and all this, the slave master and the chain and the whole thing. Why is it all like that? Because it's just a dramatization of them trying to make everything around us seem finite. Yeah. Like the universe is going to end one day and the sun's going to burn out, and that's all a little hogwash. That's completely, it's just weirdo theories and stuff. So we always come back, you know, we always return, we always arrive back. We arrive and we carry on arriving. So they've got to work out, how do you control something that keeps arriving? From their perspective. If you take it over 1,000 years, a guy like arrives like 10 times over. You got to look at it. I know there's trauma involved in it. I'm not saying it's no trauma. I'm just saying that you would then go, how are we going to trap these beings if they can just keep coming back?
Yeah.
Yeah. Something.
It's actually pretty easy if you look at it that way.
It is quite a weird thing, but it's not something, you know, don't think too much. Being in a games effect is thinking, and being in a no games effect is just looking.
Some people talk about that we're so obsessed with our own existence and sort of, in a way, suffering, that we just keep coming back for the game.
There's not much of a game left, honest, because yes, you are right. It's true.
It's like, how many different ways can you die? I mean, really, it's like the Groundhog Day or whatever, until you finally get tired of it.
It is. You do. And
how many different ways?
That's a very expanded viewpoint, though. I mean, I don't know how many people would laugh if, you know.
Aren't we done yet, you know, guys? Aren't we done?
Yeah.
Surely.
It is. It's like that, exactly. It just keeps coming back. So that's kind of, and then obviously in a games effect, because I've got all my listings here, I've got a whole lot of amazing listings here on my laptop, is emotion. Emotion is part of games effect. And that's why I look at the planets, you know, look at the, you know, life and how things go along, and people go up and down, but you really hectic stuff. Somebody lets them down, someone betrays them. So loyalty, disloyalty, and alliances are required to survive the kind of game effect that we have been given by the Cabal. You know, so we must remember, it's not our determinism. They've set up the games that we would be heavily distracted and be state dependent on the state for medical education, understanding, you know, whatever. So emotion.
You know, can I just add something there? I know that this is a little bit of a contradictory statement, but from what I've understood, like if we are completely owning the game, if we own this game, in other words, there's some part of us that is doing this to us ourselves, then what is the position of evil actually? And what I've heard, what I've come to understand, they express as They say that they are trying to provide a platform for our evolution. So as long as we keep thinking we exist, or in other words, that we are just our bodies, we will still be in the game. And that it's actually an evolutionary mechanism, you know, so we will remain in this prison of consciousness until we wake up. And so we are fighting to wake up, you know, enough to be able to say, you know, we're done now. But I guess a lot of us are done. We've just come back to help the rest wake up and get out, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
Okay.
That's why there's no you still get people who have a kind of controlling, you know, I'm in control, I want to organize. You can even see it dramatized in this movement. You can, this guy wants you to do this, or this guy's telling, no, it's that, but people should be left to be themselves. Yes, people can be organized, but you're really like a chain. That's what's really going on. We're a chain, what is that expression? Brothers in an unbroken chain. That's really who we are. Yeah. And it's not, there's no hot shot there with gold, big, huge, sort of some general or whatever who's, you know. Yeah, so that's important. And I guess, I want to see if there's any other, the other thing that I mentioned, obviously with game effects is the cabal wants to have all the, like I mentioned on the first video, on introduction, that all of these effects, it's effects on others, but not effects on self. So they want to make sure, all the effects are effects on everybody else, but not on us. We we exempt from any kind, you can't have an effect on us. And really what it is actually just corruption. I mean, isn't it really? I mean, you can call it evil too, and it can get very, very bad down there. Very bad. It's almost intolerable. But the people on the surface are just managers, like these guys that are working for them. A president of a country is just a manager. That's how I saw it. I do remote viewing. It's just a manager. The Secret Service tell them what to do. They get instructions from Secret Service. Secret Service can fly where they like. They've got diplomatic immunity. They get on the jets. They land on the tarmac. They say, right, this is what you guys are going to do. And they don't know where the data comes from. They just say, Secret Service. And Secret Service end up at the Trilateral Commission or whatever. Get the notepad, say, listen, this is what we want you guys to to tell the dudes. Or they go to the Club of Rome or whatever, those round tables, and just get the information, or they go to the City of London and have a meeting or whatever. And they say, right, this is what you've got to do. And they fly to the various governments and say, right, Secret Service says blah. And South Africa has got on the one remote thing, it was, they were paying, and I think they still are paying, the services of the CIA. They just rent they pay rent. They pay a monthly fee because we don't
South Africa.
We pay them so that we can get we can align ourselves with international intelligence. So because
prism from the splitter, from the what is it? The Origins of Spirituality video.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we are too disorganized and a little bit too corrupt to trust in. So we pay the CIA.
Or to fund our own infrastructure.
Yeah. And then that way we have a kind of a crummy intelligence service, which is okay. It's not too bad. It's a bit shit. But the CIA, we just pay them, what is it, R500,000 a month. And then we've got all of the expertise and equipment. And then we know, okay, if we really have some crap going on, we can get their help. Because of course, South Africa used to have the first or second best intelligence in the world, actually, before during the 80s. It was either first or second in the world to Israel. It was absolutely flawless. We had top intelligence. And most people don't know that.
Military.
It's not well known. Yeah, people used to buy our Caspers and buy all of our
the best training as
our
well.
bush warfare equipment. It was like it was going out of fashion.
Yeah, they sucked up all our soldiers after the government finished.
There's a lot of Afrikaners. There's a couple of Afrikaners that are in that secret army that are the Pentagon.
It's 600,000. No, 60,000.
Yeah, they because a lot of them would get just like go overseas and get work. But it's now the end. Yeah, it's now that's the one thing is that we'll never go back. There's no going back. You know, we will see a new normal way. There's no more normal. Get it? There's only forward. Next step. Next step. Next step. More and more people and lots and lots and lots of court cases. Like I said in 2022, that's where the tire. That's the actual road test. That the tire gets that grip on the tarmac, the actual physical universe, things in motion, the court cases.
That we can actually physically see.
And
change.
Some of them will fail, some of them won't, some of them will be put off or diverted, they'll be stalled or whatever, but that's the people, and eventually it's going to end up, that's what's going to end up happening. You can't just have people in the street forever with shuffle, picket signs and being upset.
Something's got to give.
Yeah, so the court case is going to start stacking up, and the cabal push the counterintelligence against our intelligence, which is not all we have left is our intuition. A lot of it. I hope I'm not talking too much.
No. I mean, so I just in a few minutes I'm going to ask a few people if they'd like to ask some questions. But so I just want to go over, because I'm quite interested in the physics of you. I just want to go over some of what you've been saying. So you're saying is really a device that is inverting or extroverting the collapse, the inversion, right? The inversion that the cabal has done is being extroverted or pushed out into the public eye and sort of into our conscious awareness again. And that's one part of the mechanism that's happening, right? Is that run by a quantum computer plus a team? I mean, who's a whole team, right? Galactic.
Well, there's several. It's an onion, so you've got several layers of. The idea that there's only 7 or 10 people, that's nonsense. You've got several layers and it's done on a need-to-know basis. So you've got the inner core of people that know exactly what the plans are, and that's like some of them are top Navy SEAL, highly decorated guys. Obviously, we know it's on each, they're not all that. There's most of them are generals, some of them are retired, but it's
Flynn.
Flynn is one of them, and he's supposed to be retired, and that's fine. And then there's some top highly decorated Navy SEAL people. Some of them are current, so there's that Space Force component. But it's and then it goes out, there's more people in this ring, and that executes all of there's this big room where they have that huge screens up. They've got the typical observation room. That runs that sort of supercomputer that I call Jack, and it's kind of like an oak tree. What they do is they use an oak tree to track the different decisions that the gaming computer. It's all already pre-set up, so they know you can feed more information into it, but it works out as a tree, so that visually when you look at it, you know what decisions are being made. So if there's more information, it creates another branch in some area. And the trunk is the main thing. And what happens is all the branches get cut off. And that's how it's understood. Now, they can look and they can quantify every possible play. This guy does that and do this and do that.
Yeah. So whichever one they choose, they snip the other 4. So it's like pruning a tree.
So sorry, I'm not complete. It's partly because of the buffering. I'm losing you. But you're saying the team has a supercomputer, quantum computer called Jack.
Yes. Yeah.
And so where does Alice come in? with everything. Alice is also quantum computer.
I don't know. No, well, I don't know. But yeah, it could be. But all I know about Alice is the training that you get when you go into you get Alice training. It's like a known thing. That's why when George Bush was, the planes were, the teacher was going, ready, this, ready. Are you ready? Are you ready? Ready? Are you ready? And he was doing the pet goat and he was sitting in the chair in the school. Alice is this training that you get where it's a certain way of communicating. And all of the like Hillary and all these deep staters that are involved in the States, it's very popular training. You don't get, they all have to be trained. So when they go to sit in front of senators and answer questions, Hillary will be able to
just fire off the answers.
Yeah, to sort of blow them off or look like she can deal with it. And then she sits and goes, really? And I can't really recall. So all have this training, and you can see they've had this training because of the way that they handle it. It's how to handle other people. They do it very well. They're very well trained.
So it's like an MK Ultra. It's like an MK Ultra program that they get called Alice. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
And that's they know how to manage the quantum field into a not know, right? They push it into the not know.
Well, it's because they're basically part of the cabal, like all of them. So they're trained, and the CIA do it. They all do it. There's certain characteristics that they all have. They all handle it in the same way. And so if you have Alice in Wonderland, that's what comes from Alice in Wonderland, the book, where you ask these questions and things are meaningless, whatever, this strange, it's a way of training a person to never get flustered when you're being hit on by a bunch of senators in front of you with microphones and whatever, and you're being hit on.
Like a professional psychopath.
Right. So you get trained to take on a whole entourage of very serious people that are firing questions at you. And you can sit there for hours and hours and hours, days and days and days. Yeah. And you can take it, and there's no cracking. You don't crack because you just, you train. And to me, that's what Alice is. I just called it Jack because there's kind of this affinity between JFK Jr. and his father, and Jack was like a replica of JFK's father. It was like they used to call him Jack for short. It was like his nickname, and it just feels right because I don't know why it is that way. Sometimes I don't know why I do things, but it just feels like it was very personal. There's something of him, his personality duplicated into that. And some of the information that was put into the supercomputer was from the 60s already in this where they had the information about what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. The game plan.
Yeah, they've been busy with it for a while, hey?
And eventually ended up a long time. If that answers the question that you had, I hope.
So the supercomputer is reading the consciousness of humanity. Is that what you're saying? Like a tree? And looking at where we're at, where the consciousness of humanity is at. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah.
They're reading it and then deciding based on the tree that emerges what is needed. Is that right?
Yes, like the people. Yes, correct. So that would be like the public contact division. So then the quantum computer. The whole right across the spectrum, everything I've sent and the things we do and everything that everybody does, but it tracks all of the text and the speech so that it there's certain markers.
Like keywords
And markers when things get sent and forwarded to somebody else. And every time that there's because social media, language is code. It's just code. We can say it's got emotion attached to it. It's just code. So the the computer knows exactly what you're saying. It catches the whole thing together, and it knows, okay, we've now got 100,000 more. Most instant. It's not even a problem. It just goes bang. Most instant. And so the Kabbalah are gaming. We are running out of gaming scenario. You remember that one movie that was about that kid? It was to do with sort of nuclear warfare or whatever. It was something game, whatever, game something.
The Hunger Games. No, not the Hunger Games.
It was Michael J. Fox, I think.
Oh,
and
yeah.
He was like this
Back to the Future or
and
something.
It was about, something like that. And it was about all these nuclear missiles that were one was going to fire here and another was going to fire there. And it was something at it was a Michael J. Fox movie anyway, but it shows you how the supercomputers worked out. If this person nukes that person and this person does this and this person does that, it's never going to end. The computer keeps on updating its way of how it would do something. It's outcome. Yeah, I can't remember the name. Anyhow, so that's why there's two computers are gaming against each other to see who can win. And they must push that false flag. They have to do their false flag. We have to let them do what they need to do because it wasn't going to end any other way. Because Evergreen got stopped. So from Evergreen,
not for Hillary too.
It shifted everything. When that boat got stuck in a canal and the SEALs went in there and did everything like that, that changed the game. The game changed. And they're totally happy, with the fact that it is this way, because how would it have ended? It wouldn't have ended any other way. They're bleeding their resources out. So they're working harder and harder and harder and harder to pump and manufacture, fabricate counterintelligence, which is lying. I mean, counterintelligence is basically lying. It's me pretending that I would tell you something about the enemy, make you believe it. And then you think, oh, this is what they're going to do. And I'm like this really good liar or whatever, really good sort of spin doctor, or, confidant or an aide of yours or something. And you, the Minister of Defense, did say, or something, or maybe you write something, whatever. And then you believe all this information, and then you work out your plans about how you're going to attack, the enemy I'm telling you about.
Yeah, based on the information you've given.
And so you believe it, and then you go and do that, and then the enemy actually laughs at you because whilst you laying out all these...
Sent Rob undercover
to misdirect you. So often you'd have things like that back in the 40s where they'd, make fake tanks or pretend like they were building like a weapon, or troops were moving around, but it was all fake. So guys would take all these photographs and think, oh, that's what the enemy's doing. Oh, it's doing this, it's doing that. Their movements here, this is happening. And say, oh, we know what they're doing, but it's actually just counterintelligence, just like Zuma was,
Yeah, so it's basically like I often talk about it like being, it's like if each one of us is an observer on the quantum field, creating reality and being connected to, in unity, then if they can grab that observer, if they can siphon that, the way that we gaze or what we're looking at, or what we're connected to, then that's a trap. That's the trap, it's like the war for the frontal lobe, who's looking at what is the war, right?
Yes, exactly. Well, you could say that. Exactly. So it's just a game. On this, all that the game has become now is intelligence versus counterintelligence of the cabal. Our intelligence versus theirs. And we are becoming more intelligent every day because we're starting to understand everything. I mean, okay, we've been in it for quite a while, but some guys have only been in it for maybe a year or 2 years. But if you've been in this game for maybe 20 years, or, like David Icke is this guy who's been pedaling his bicycle for 30 years,
Yeah, he's been trying to say, look at this for the longest time, and we're only just catching up now.
I said that years ago, when I was still at school, he was already pumping out the stuff. And so, but in the end, it's, like I said, he calls it, what is it, cartelism or something. I don't know, some funny word he used, cartel, whatever. but it's basically just utter determinism, because it's timelessness, because we're just stuck forever in this thing that seems to never end. It feels like it's never going to end. It's timeless. It's got timelessness in it. You can't judge it. You can't figure out when it's going to end or begin, or how long, were we here before? Has this happened again? Are we living the same life again? You know, this weird kind of feeling. And it's got unconsciousness in it, not necessarily ours, because we're very awake, but it's got unconsciousness in it. Because when something's very, very, very evil, it's actually unconscious, but it still can make decisions and move around. So, even if it's unconscious, it isn't aware. The Cabbal's not aware of any game going on, any kinds of games afoot. The Cabbal's not aware of that. They think this is the survival. They're not that's why if they sort of kill or murder 1 million people or murder 1 million children, to them it's like, but there's no game going on.
Yeah, it's not much fun when your food wakes up and tells you to stop eating it. It's like quite shocking. Hey?
There we go. Yeah. They're not aware of it. They're like, what game are you talking about? Because they've been doing it for such a long time.
Your food speaks back and says stop.
Hey, what do you think you're doing?
That's terrible.
Put that fork down and walk away.
Yeah, really, seriously. We thought we were the top of the food chain for the longest time.
That's what they make us.
We've decided we're going to call it the Rude Awakening instead of the Great Awakening.
Oh, yeah, totally.
But I'm actually very excited. I just love the fact that you make light of the fun part. Exactly. It is really cool. I mean, we do have each other. I think that's worth a lot, because maybe it's another year. In the end, I think it will be probably about. I don't know. I was looking and I just thought next year is the beginning of the end. I know that. So from that time, 2020, I didn't say anything about November or December. People have made up a whole lot of things about September. This is going to happen. November, no, it's not. It's all prep. It's like a little ramp that we're going up. And when you get into 2022, that's going to be the beginning of the end, where we can actually see them starting to lose. Like the press is going to slip and all these whistleblowers. The information is going to actually make...
Show itself.
Yeah, because of the courts and the questioning of the senators. I mean, they've been grinding the kind of Fauci, his face is rubbed up against a cheese grater every day. And he's got Alice. He's got Alice training. So he sits there and he's like, yeah. And that's why it's very difficult to get him to be emotional, even when the whole world's ganging up against him.
Cool bananas, man.
Reptilians don't get emotional.
No, yeah. I mean, some of these guys, the thing that I get quite pissed off is that some of these guys get deals. And so they kind of get bailed out. And I'm quite cross about that.
I'm against that as well.
It doesn't make me happy. No. I mean, I can be lighthearted about it in this conversation. I don't get stuck in the emotion about it. But I just think that it's kind of unfair that they can, we're going to have to wait around for them to, some of these guys.
Show us the trials and what.
Yeah, the corporate people, the people who are in the Hilton boss suits, the yuppies that are in the game that we don't win.
Their game.
Yeah, we're not winners we're not players in this game. So you guys were out long ago because you're here already. You were here. You were already here. You've arrived. Like I say, it's true that you've arrived. It's like we're sitting in what's left of the supernatural universe. There's not much of it left, man. It's the illusions of beings that is the most valuable thing to a being is her or his illusions. Without them, if you get stripped of that, you don't.
It's like your magic.
It's your magic. It's what gives you grace and aesthetics and all that.
So we're stripping them of their magic at the moment, aren't we?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're getting their head kicked and also we're actually coming up. So when you see people in the street freaking out and doing the whole kind of protest thing, it's very, 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 very good. It makes people feel better. So they, because they're together, which is fantastic. As soon as they come together, they have this huge amount of agreement, because nothing else in the whole world agrees with them except the guy on the pavement next to them, running along with them.
Yeah.
Then they feel like they're together, and then so that's good. So they can do that. And court cases. That's why I thought court cases in Southern Africa. It would be nice if Southern Africans knew the most about Southern Africa than anyone else out there in the northern. It would be good if we were next.
I don't think the people in the USA give a shit what's happening here. To be quite honest, they're like, whatever.
Software.
Don't think about lions running around.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, whatever. Nothing much happening there. Keep going. Move on.
Yeah.
But I mean, like Gene was saying, hey, in his thing last night, that I don't know if you caught him at the beginning. He spoke about the dams. He said that when the what's going on underground here gets revealed, that the earth will be that the world will be reeling.
Yes, I can believe that, because in an email, he's completely correct. We are living in such a solid place, so heavy. Southern Africa is
Draco headquarters.
Yeah, it's the best place to go shopping for them, because I don't know how many kids, but we were at this rally. Whatever it was.
We were at the Move 1 Million march.
Oh, yeah.
Like in the beginning of end of last year, something like that, and it was in town or something. CBD, yeah. All three of us went, and we saw two ladies standing out there with a poster saying "Save our children." And we have a population of say 80 million, 85 million, give or take, and America's sitting at like 350 million. Okay. And last year, their average statistic, or actually their general statistic for missing children in their country of that amount of population was actually 1 million. 1 million missing kids.
Wow.
The whole of last year. That's nothing compared to ours. For our tiny population, which is a fraction of theirs, 1.2 million. And those are only the ones that are reported in this country. 1.2 million.
Yeah.
But that ratio difference between population is insane.
Yeah.
And that's only the ones, like I said, that are, we don't even have like half of Africa doesn't even have an ID card, So how are you going to trace a missing child? And that's where also the whole indoctrination thing comes in from, why these African cultures are indoctrinated to believe that the more children you have, that's a sign of your wealth. But that's all was started like way back when they decided to have this area to be like the breeding ground for child harvesting. They inbred this into the African population to make them believe that the more children they have, the more wealthy they are. Like that's just
someone should survive. If you have at least 10, maybe one will.
Yeah,
maybe one. That's very much the animal kingdom, isn't it?
All the cabal are from us, whatever. They need a theta and a gamma, a resource. So it's like going to eat the resource. It's off this planet, as a product. And the thing about I don't know if anyone really mentioned it in this way. The guys in the tunnels, you get CIA are like, they have these sort of clones, right? So you've got people with, mothers and fathers, and then you've got this clone. They're people like you and me, but they just don't have a mother and a father. They have
lab grown.
They essentially, that's why they call it the farm, and they call them corn and everything, because anyhow, but there are these middlemen between like the modern world and its mind, these these yuppie hotshots and people in strategic positions are all have got some training or other with the CIA, like the CEOs and these hotshots. I mean, you look at, for example, the Facebook guy and the CEO of Twitter, and these are younger people that are very snappy, they're very quick.
Jack and Jill.
Yeah, Jack and Jill, you got it. Great. Okay, so
brilliant video.
It's
so funny. Look at Jill's sad face. Shame, poor Jill. So sad. Very funny.
But they actually,
what a game!
It's like yeah, it's so silly. It's just DARPA. I mean, those guys, like people say, why they're so wealthy, and this is one guy on my channel that asks me about it, and I just say, look, that like most of that money's not even theirs. It just belongs to the company. It's company money. It's not, this fancy house and this chopper and the super yacht, and look at all the cars that the guy from Twitter's got, that dude with he's got like a whole fleet of cars that he probably never even drives, but he apparently owns everything. But I mean, if you're given something, how much, your job is to be this kind of hip Silicon Valley, like know-it-all, who's this high school dropout that just kind of, all of that stuff comes from an underground base and then gets just given to some...
Yeah, the devil owns his ass.
Yeah, totally. And the things
he's the devil's bitch, that one.
Yeah, exactly. And was used like a drug. So it was a way to get those people that we were just talking about now addicted to it, like the Hollywood crowd or whatever you see. So it was used, but they actually used it as leverage, because human beings are very sneaky. They know they're dealing with a hybrid bunch of people underground that they need to get leverage over. So it was actually the humans who jacked up the production of everything to make sure they had enough leverage over the hybrids, you see, because they were supplying them. And that's why the CIA said, listen, we actually think that we're in control. So they managed to swing it around because they didn't have this super high tech stuff. There was this tech trade and all this trade going on. They used it to get them really well addicted. So when on purpose that they could, because it's like make sure that he
like the drug addict to the dealer.
So then became probably the most powerful organization, known organization besides BlackRock. BlackRock wouldn't exist without art. That's why that one video I did, I took my Italian belt and put it right around the whole world and tightened it and put it low and said, that's how powerful they are. That's what everybody wants to do, type of thing. But the cleverness, they were so shrewd and they actually made it work. So there was this they managed to level just because they realized they were kind of on the back foot, and now so now they weren't on the back foot anymore. But it is true what Gene said about he's very correct. He remote viewed the reptilians. They were going out of business. So how can I put it? What's the word? The investment of them being around. Yeah, he's totally correct about that. He's 100% correct. They realized that it's not viable anymore. Like this is not totally sustainable. It's not viable, and then they just decided to. Basically bad for
business.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So I just want to open it up for a couple of questions from people, and then we can close up for today. But we'll definitely it's like a sort of like a bit of an endless field that we can travel down forever, never. And I know you guys have been working so hard. But let me just find out from everybody if there's any particular questions. We don't have to go on for too long. Does anyone in the group want to ask Rob anything?
Yes, I would like to. Hello. Hello. So, hey there, Rob and Mitch.
Hi.
In one of your videos, you mentioned that you're comfortable to help people to target a specific issue because there is a myriad of possible areas that the person could get entangled in. So, for instance, the way I understood it from you is that there could be conflict or bad entities or things to work through in order to get the information. So my question around that is, how do you do that? Because, that's part of our growth here is we're learning to do remote viewing. And so obviously, if we're going to remote view something and there's some issues going on in that area, maybe you could just elaborate a little bit on that for us.
Yeah, sure. I find that I get most of my information from the hitchhiker, not from the degraded being that is hitchhikers attached to. Some person might have 2 or 3 beings around them that are hitchhikers, which are black static beings, right? That's just a generic term because that's really what they are. So they are attached to the person. A lot of these people they drink or take some kind of drug or whatever, and the hitchhikers got a hankering, a craving for the drug from a time when they were sort of physical or whatever, and then they were addicted to cigarettes or addicted to a drug or addicted to drinking, and they enjoyed that sort of thing, or whatever it is, or something really, it could be, whatever the usual list of things that people could get something. Yeah, so what happens is the hitchhiker actually gets attached to that guy, and that guy goes drinking, and then they actually are permanently infused in his space, but he's not aware of it. And they get suggestion and everything from that black static being. So I call them hitchhikers because it's sort of a
yeah.
So often if I do go and I have a target on somebody, I have a thing where they will comply. I don't, there's no reservation on my part. There is no such thing as privacy because I'm not interested in the tiny little silly details. I'm interested in something that's geopolitical. So I'm not really there for like niggly small bits of stupid information because it's some kind of humanoid lifetime nonsense. I don't care for that. That's just for whatever. It's just where his position or his status is in a group dynamic. So yeah, but I get a lot of information from the beings around me because when I arrive in the area or when I reach towards that person, sometimes it's not just one person because there's a kind of a group that's connected. Sometimes it won't just be one person. It will be like several that are in like that thing in Israel, for example, with Netanyahu and all of that. There are a whole group of people that are all in with each other and, the usual thing. And then just trying to figure out what they were doing and how they were feeling, like the emotions that run through. And then they're in a panic if they get found out. So they're like covering this up or doing that. And then you can feel the military people over here, and then so in that way, and you do get black static beings that are like attached to them. That's part of their sort of religious kind of preference or whatever. This sort of cabal way of doing it to have as much power as you can. And so I get it from hitchhikers, and because they're so sold in with them. Am I answering your question? Is there something else? Maybe you can ask me the other part if I didn't answer you. I can be more
no, I think I'm getting more of an idea of what it was that you were alluding to with that point. I've got a few other questions if I can ask.
Thank you very much, Amanda. I'm going to try and be quick. And I just want to say hi, Rob and Mix.
I just want to say, yes.
Oh, wow.
I want to say acknowledge code 1717. I listened to the
You got it. I'm so glad you got it.
Yes, thank you. It's so amazing I've been looking forward to this for such a long time, and here you are, and it's amazing to see you. The sound has not been very good, but the program has been fascinating. Thank you so much. You know, with everything that I've heard from the two of you and from Amanda as well, it's so important right now to actually have, we can't see into the unseen realms. So we don't really know what is around us. So it is so important, and I'm just trying for the better part of my life, I've been trying to be able to see into the unseen realms so that we're not caught napping, so that when we are operating in absolute conviction and we know what to do. Because right now we feel, oh goodness, like you are trying to feel your way in the dark, and half the time, or more than half the time, it just leaves you utterly frustrated because you don't know, and then there's a sense of overwhelm. So if you can maybe just help guide us about, what can we do to really get this operational,
Yes.
So that I think would really go a long way in helping us really get our innate and internal power back.
Yes, well, that's why I thought I'm going to do some exercises with Mix. She's going to be my guinea pig. I've done various sessions on her with different items, and I've got some very good results from it. One was something that was totally invisible, that didn't cause, but it was. So we did something several days. I tell you about it or whatever, but she ended up locating herself, like you could call it a higher self if you wanted to, but it's a practical exercise that you run for days and days and days until eventually it pops. So sometimes with things, when you want to do something practical, an exercise of some type, but you might have to continue it until you get the results. That's where the person suddenly just shoots out of the top of their head or whatever, and just bang, like arrives. You can feel when a being arrives in the space, you get this tension in the air, almost like the area becomes charged, and you know that they're. I would say that, look, being sensitive, I prefer women to men because unless men are very feminine, I find that there's a natural androgyny about being spiritual that goes along with everything. So women are really good in that way. But I would say that's why I think one of the best exercises is to sit and be in front of another, that thing where you sit and opposite each other with your eyes closed and just be there comfortably. And you must think of it as a fun thing, Sometimes you can pretend you're not doing something just for fun. Like if you're washing the dishes and you pretend that you're just doing it for the fun of it and it's not serious. As soon as you get serious, you kind of lose the game of that. So I would say that then that exercise where you sit opposite each other with your eyes open, because it's a way of opening up your third eye, actually, because what happens is you start to recognize that you are almost two things. This is part of what happens is you eventually have no more attention on yourself because you realize that there's nothing about you that you need to have your attention on. And it's a way of going from noise, which is part of games effect that's on my laptop here. Noise is when you're embroiled in a low, horrible, a low emotion game state, like agitation. And then you go to silence. You have to be able to have some silence. You can't just, obviously speak in this noise stuff. With my life and everything and my thoughts and ideas and having to so the mind is obviously people, a lot of guru guys talk about quieting the mind and go on about it forever, but it's actually quite simple. I mean, I've done few thousand hours of it myself. I've done sitting by myself and then sitting in front of somebody else, my eyes closed, and then sitting in front of somebody else, my eyes open, and then being there. So what happens is you end up really creating a loop. What happens is you are being there only. You are not doing anything else. Not, you see, because if you bring total silence and everything stops, the mind stops. You say it's okay. You don't need to solve something right now. I'm just being here, and the mind tends to talk itself. And I'm so busy, and I've got all those things I need to work out. So you get that, which is not easy because you have to make sure you don't have any pressing problems in your life at the time. Some hectic stuff that is bothering you, because then you won't be able to be there. That's why people go to places like monasteries. Maybe you go to the province or whatever, so you get into a fresh environment. That's why I'm going away. I think maybe you gave no. She's going away. Why don't you go away? Because it's a change of environment, which is a form of therapy. It's a valid form of therapy, change of environment, as well as learning some incredible information can be very therapeutic. That's another valid form of therapy. Another one is session. It's any type of session, if it's very good session, and the person that's delivering something is very certain about what they're doing. There's also therapy. So there are 3 versions of therapy, which is actually a 4th one. I don't know what it is now, but it's somewhere. So I would recommend that, because what happens is you create a loop. And then you realize the dimensions of a being run out as flows. A flow like goes out and comes in, right? Because you're creating effects on different dimensions. And because you are multi-dimensional, obviously we know that, but you have purposes. You might have about 7 or 8, or you might have 5 purposes or whatever. They're minor, but it's a reach towards life as something. So a being has like several beingnesses in. So a being is a very simple thing actually, but it's incredibly malleable. A being can reach in several ways. So you're actually very capable as a being. So if you were to just be in front of another being that was willing to be in front, that's very important. There must be a willingness there, an interest, a kind of excitement. Like, you don't know what you're doing, but hey, you're just going to try this thing. Like just a dumbass experiment. Don't take it seriously. Just be there comfortably and then not think anything and not do anything. And then when you are being there, you will notice that there will be this, your vision will go a bit funny and you might get sort of pain in your neck or whatever. But you just keep going until all of those physical phenomena go away, because the body's also got to agree with you, like I said. So the body is a 7-year-old child, so it's at that intelligence level. So it's quite clever. It knows what it's saying. It can sort itself out. It's very self-determined. But you have to, because the being and the body are kind of like mates, so you've got to like say, no, it's going to be here and it's not serious, and don't worry, this is actually quite a lot of fun, and eventually it settles down. You might get a little reaction here or there about something, but don't worry, you just keep going. Even if it's a little bit tough, or you can't stop laughing, or it feels uncomfortable, or you get a bit tense, you get stressed out and a bit tense, and you think someone can see your thoughts or something, that doesn't matter. Let them see your thoughts. Just let it be there without anything. And then the other person has to do the same thing. So you're not alone, you see, and then you're creating this loop. So eventually you realize that you're looking at yourself, and that's where life becomes so special. So special, because you're not one thing. I keep telling the guys, I don't know if they get it. I don't know if you guys, what do you think? Give me, but I keep saying, if you're many things, you are many things. So, and that's how your perception works, because you are many things. When you want to perceive something from nature, well, you're part of nature, so you can perceive. If you perceive something in a supernatural, you perceive it. But you get higher level of supernatural and a lower level of supernatural. And right now, man is just a hairline above the natural universe. It's supernatural. The tank is really empty. It's really empty because of the modern 21st century kind of high tech weird.
Modern wilderness mind.
So if you do that and you get used to it, that should definitely give you should help in that, in feeling your perimeter, because your perceptions, they flow out your back and out of your. You don't see. A being can't see with his eyes. A being can't see with his eyes. It's a being predominantly sees the images in their own mind in a way, but they don't sort of maybe get out of the head, go out of the body, like intention, because they want to. If I go out of my body, Mickey knows, because I get all my hair stands up in my arms or whatever.
There's goosebumps everywhere.
Yeah, I just lift stuff, and then I go back inside, and all the hair goes down. And I go out again, and it goes. It's like a static effect. It goes. You see it. People get goosebumps. Why do they get goosebumps? Because when the being shifts out the body a bit, the body instantly loses temperature, because the being's got energy. So the being leaves the body, and then all of the hairs stand up, because it's. And also,
to the heat loss.
But the body also has a reaction, because it gets stimulated, because the being moves. When a being moves, there's this energy, and then
Yeah, the being charges the body.
Yeah, and so there's this movement of charge, and it stimulates it. So, and the body loves that feeling. It's very natural, because the being actually attaches its presence to the endocrine system, really, in the end of the day. Like, especially when it comes in as a infant, it attaches to the endocrine system and has, and that's why really the thing is the endocrine system. That's different lymphatic and all these different types. So I would recommend that, and I'll just think if there's anything else I can think of. I can also email devour. There might be. I'll see if there's some other exercise. The one thing that also do that arrival exercise, like where you arrive. But tell the walls that you have arrived. Tell the ceiling. Get that something to tell you that you have arrived. It must tell you. Do that. So you say hello to hello to the wall, and get into communication. It's like I said, it's ridiculous.
It sounds strange, but I've done it myself. Like, Rob told me what to do, and I literally got a response the first time. Like, I think we were at his place. We were sitting on like a futon on the floor, and he said, like, say hello to the floor. And so I put my hand on the floor, and I thought a massive hello at it, and it actually pushed my hand back out off the floor, and said thought hello back to me. And I was so blown away. I was like, what was that? I was like, I want to do it again. It's so fun. It's so amazing. And the things are actually living, breathing, talking back to you. So you can just you can say hello to them. You can tell them to say hello to you. And like when you walk through the door of your house, you can get the whole house, the furniture, the walls, the roof, to tell you that you have arrived. It's a very powerful feeling. And that's how you can be very in tune with your surroundings, especially home. That's like the best place to have it, because that's when you know you're part of it, and it's happy to have you around.
So get the ceiling to tell you that you have arrived.
First, you got to talk to it, and it might take a few times. Sometimes you're talking to me. No one's talking to me. But how many years? I've been this, I've been that, and no one talks to them because they aren't acknowledged. So it might take a while for them to open up to you or to actually respond to you. But once you've got it, then you can tell them. Then you can tell them to tell you that you've. First, you have to establish that communication and say hello to it first and acknowledge it. And then once you've got that comm line, then you just go with it. Then the communication's open, the door's open.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. I don't want to take up too much time because I think has more questions, but these are some practical things that I can do. Thank you so much for this, and I wish the two of you all the very best and an exciting break. Enjoy your journey.
If I do think of other things, I will let Amanda know, and I'll talk to her. And if I think of another exercise you can do, if there's something that will assist you with that specific phenomena, or you can always just call me if you want, and maybe I can ask you some questions, because I would need to parallel myself with you, and then obviously there's always permission when it comes to more things that are more personal, just so that I can get a look at if something could be getting in your way, or what's something stupid. You can try that so long, like I said, with your sister, someone that you thought was a good friend, or a friend, or somebody. Find one person who wants to give it a try.
Yeah, just how long? What is the duration that you should sit opposite each other?
It's for as long as what is necessary. You will do it until you become so damn good at it, and then you tell me what happened. Because I'm only looking for a result. I really love results. If I don't get a result, I feel quite defeated. That's actually the way I am as a person. I have to get a result. Otherwise, what's the point? You know what I mean? True. But I would say, touch that point of your body. There's an old, 5,000 years old. There was this China on me. Now, not just the body, which is 7 billion. They've it's organized. The body is something that is organized. Like any organism, it's organized. But if you can get someone to touch you on different, so you touch the temples, the nose, different sides of the neck here, sides of the shoulders here, and then on your trunk, over here on your rib cage, and on your joints, on your ankles. I think that will help you also with the hands and all that. And you just get someone to touch you all in different. And when they touch you, then you say, okay, the person must say, can you feel my finger or whatever? And they touch the temple and you say yes, but you can't answer unless you feel it. They say, feel my finger, and then you touch, and then they say yes, okay. Very likely, and you keep doing it over and over and over. It's.
But thank you. I get the gist of what you were saying. Thanks so much, and bless you.
I can show you one day. Maybe it can get Nikki to film it, and I'll do it on her.
Okay.
And, just if you need some help, it's fine.
Okay, great. Thank you so much again.
Yeah.
Well, guys, so I think we must wrap up. I know it's got more questions, but I'm just concerned about the time, and also just feeling tired. I mean, we've come through 2 hours now. So, Robert, your call. Do you want 2 hours?
I'm fine.
Are you okay? You okay to take? Okay. Okay. Do you want to ask another question? You'll have to unmute. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got lots. Okay, so the next question I have is, how do you follow the timeline because obviously there's multiple timelines. So let's say we're looking at a target and certain outcomes, and then we're trying to work back to the now. So what do you look for so that you know that you're following, which timeline you're following to get back to the now, to see the different outcomes?
That's easy, because I work from present time. That's an anchor point. Present time is always an anchor point, because I've created a platform where I'm anchored there, and then what I do is I reach for the target, the person, the position or place, and I want to know something about it. So I say, what's going on over there? And I will, I'm not going to be too stressed or worried about it. I'm just like, okay, it's, I know what I would like to know something. It's not a must have. I don't enforce it. Nothing's enforced. And then I just allow it to be. Like, I grant the, I never, I'm ethical. So because I'm ethical, it gives me a rite of passage. When you're ethical, you have right of passage. You like to because you really are truly doing it to help and no other reason. So it's very pure, what I do. So then, okay, fine. And then, because you mentioned time, so then I'll have to have a look to see where is the data, like where am I getting the data? Is it from this person's mind? Is it a little group of people that have all discussed the same thing and then have these thoughts? So it's in present time, yes, I'm getting this information, but sometimes people plan something in the future, so it hasn't happened yet. That happened to me with, I'll give you a very good example. His name, Michael Flynn, the general. Whatever. So in 2020, in May last year, whatever, I said, oh, he's going to get another star. Because I saw in his mind that there was this other star. He's got 3 stars. So I said, no, he's going to get a 4th one. And I was totally certain about that. And that came straight out of his mind. Because he's a very ethical man. He's highly ethical. So there's a lot of affinity between myself and him, because of this affinity that we have. Because ethics is a very complex subject. It's kind of Socrates and Plato stuff, but he's a reader. He's an avid reader. He's very, very clever, knowledgeable guy. So it was very easy to get information from him. And even now, it's easy, still now. But what actually occurred is that his brother got a 4th star 6 months later. So I saw it in his mind, and I thought that he was going to, because I could see it. So he knew about it. Yeah. And then his brother got the star and then got promoted in November. And I remote viewed it in like May, January, February, March, April, May.
They were both 3-star generals.
Yeah, both 3-star generals. And then he got his 4th star, his brother's Charles. I didn't even know that Charles existed.
Yeah, we didn't even know there was another
I didn't even know he had a brother. So I thought it was him. And then he went and handled the South Pacific Fleet, and he was stationed around Hawaii, and he did all the very, he speaks slower. So that happened. So that's possible, showing you that time would be sometimes it's planned, but it hasn't rolled out in the future yet, because the future is really only present time that's on its way. It's on its way. So if you wait around long enough, all present times will arrive if you put them in the future, because the future is an illusion. It's an illusion. That's what it is. It's a future illusion of something. Someone, an architect or a person decides he's going to become an amazing piano player, and then plans it, and like a child who's just blown away by being an amazing pianist, and then becomes an amazing pianist. Well, the person created illusions. Illusions are as valuable to a being as anything. So it's much easier with ethical people, I can tell you. Obviously, when you're dealing with someone at a very low energy level, that they're very disturbed, or very hateful, or they're a murderer or murderous, or they're child molesters, or it can be quite complex. But okay, so present time 0. So to be infinite, you've got to have the most amount of yourself in present time to start. You've got to pack all your resources into present time, every single bit. You can't get attention on anything. You've got to exist in a constant state of as you are, as that is your natural, what I call native state. So you really want to have as much of you in present time as possible. And then you do, I always endeavor to do everything in the present moment. And then then once I put it out there, if I haven't got the information straight away, then I'll leave it, and then I'll allow it to come back to me. So then I might be sleeping and get up and then write something on the board every year. You can't see this board, to be honest, might be there. And I'll just have pens, and I'll just write down when it comes in. And then I'll wait for it. And sometimes it comes quick, sometimes slow. So that also means that time is ticking fast. Time is always factored in, like a decision, or every decision that anyone has ever made in the history of the world has got time decisions require a consideration of time. So I will also look at a being's considerations and then approximate. Sometimes I vibrate the being a bit. I shake him. I kind of hum the area. I create this vibration. It's like quite a heavy hum, and then it's
like you shake it to see what falls out.
Yeah, but I hum it quite heavily, and then it tends to hum so that I can get, because some things are so solid that they're not light enough to. This is the sort of a thing I do, and I have a few kind of weird techniques that I use, like stuff I've picked up from other clairvoyants, because I'm really a clairvoyant at the end of the day. I mean, I don't know if you're clairvoyant. It's someone who's trying to see something clearly. And clairsentience goes along, because sometimes you hear something, and you can hear them talk. And that sort of thing. I mean, but if you have a question on time, then
can I just jump in here for a second, because I want to just say something. Sorry, Diane. I just want to add to the thing of timelines, because Diane was saying, how do you know which timeline you're on when you gathering information? And I'm just thinking, you can ask. Like, you can ask the field what let's go to the highest possible timeline, or what timeline am I on? You can ask that question, and you'll get that information, right? I mean, I don't know if that's, Rob, I don't know if that's your experience. That's the one thought that I had. And the other thought that I had is, because your intent is so pure, you'll be guided by that intent to the highest timeline, or to the timeline that matches the highest intent. So you don't really need anything other than that as your navigation.
Can I interject and just say, Rob, I remote view very similar to how you remote view. I also have bits of paper and write things, and I hear things and see things at different times, and it all sort of culminates and comes together. So I've watched your video on that. My question really is, like Trump does, okay? So my understanding is they go out into a timeline, into what the outcome is that they want, and then they keep moving all the chess pieces until they get the process and the timeline that they're looking for in order to get the outcome they want. Okay, so how do I follow that? How do I, because it's so multifaceted that sometimes I get lost. So how do you stick to it? Yeah. How do you get it?
Postulates are that's postulates. When something is postulated. Okay. So when you're dealing with creating with futures, this future's an illusion. So you create a strong enough illusion with no consideration. So with Trump and people like that, you see part of the it's tricky there with that, because you've got the ultraviolet team of people who they change thought and consideration. So they it's like so weird. Okay, but all like I've got to think about answering this question. So yes, you are right about that. They will create thought, and then they will they will create physical universe, little news things, or release some information, to give people the idea to change thought. That is a science and an art.
On a massive scale.
So that's when you really have some people don't like to use the word master. So let's just say that you are, it's a big skill. It's a very deft skill, very adroit skill to do that. So then it's because it's a creative process they're using. And so they will find that maybe we are dropping down emotionally too much, and then suddenly they will drop a whole lot of, suddenly Flynn will appear over here, and
or there's a drop or something.
Drop, or McInerney will come in here and say something and disappear, and this guy will come in over here and disappear.
Yeah,
there's funny things coming out of the woodwork, as it does. But I look at it as look at it as cycles of action, because a decision has time in it, because it involves time, and then a cycle of action. That's why I said that quote of mine, Nick's, about space and energy, is
Not here, right?
where is my quote, my famous quote?
Yes.
Is that it's a cycle of action. So we're dealing with space is created, energy is created, and then you have cycles of action just start, change, stop. So you will look at Trump and say, what is he start changing and stopping? Because that's what has been started by the being. What is in change? Like, what is the being effect? What effect is he creating? Now, I know that in the future, that's why with 2022, that is what's going to happen is Trump, this future illusion, this decision he's already made was to deal with the Google, Twitter, Facebook crowd and drag them to Capitol Hill and embarrass the crap out and hire the most expensive lawyers money could buy, and then haul them over the coals in Congress. And they think that they're going to sort of make a deal and get let off the hook, and they're not going to get embarrassed. So, and that's how, because he's so good at planning that he wants it to be just perfect. Trump loves synchronicity. That's why he fits in like a three-piece suit. He loves the system, the method. So, I mean, we know that there's a lot of grief and pain in the world. I get that on my lines as well. I have to do all sorts of things to calm down the area, because you can get quite upset by it, we all feel it, and Amanda, all of us, we all get so, like, sometimes it can be a bit hopeless or just feel like nothing's ever going to change. But so then I know there's a cycle of action going on, and then so cycles of action, and then my anchor points bring up. So you get people that do things with time, but I don't worry too much about that, because it doesn't matter what a being's doing. He'll either be thinking about something in his past, like some stuck in the past, stuck in the future, or someone who's stuck in present time only, who can't go anywhere, is essentially neurotic. Like someone who becomes neurotic and anxious more. They're just completely stuck in there. But that's a crazy thing. There isn't any future or past. That's why they're neurotic about everything, because they can't perceive the future or past. They're kind of stuck in the present moment. And it's all pre-planned because it's all on clocks. It's like 20 clocks in the wall. They've got clocks all over the world. You see these clocks, and you can see them looking at the clocks, and they know when everything's supposed to happen. So for them, it's quite stress-free in comparison to us. We're the ones who get stress and whatever, from the...
Also, just a note to add, he explains it really well in the video. Right. It's got a, can't remember what it's called now. So it's got a picture of him with a whiteboard behind it with a big blue oak tree on it, on the board. And there he explains all about movements and what the oak tree is and the decisions and the synchronicities and all stuff like that.
Yeah, and like some of those people that are whistleblowers, like that lady that's got the Harvard business degree, and she's just sort of bounced out of Facebook and happy to copy like 30,000 pages of the stuff. I mean, it's a complete plant. She's like a white hat. The lady at Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
It's a white hat. She came in there with a Harvard business degree, and she was a data analyst, scientist type of high-tech data analyst, scientist person with her Harvard degree added in, and they just sucked her in there because they were so desperate for people. And then she just like pulled the plug in and went, it went against my personal conviction. But, so that's sort of, that's why I picked up the Jack and Jill stuff, was just the fact that they had this plan to rescue Facebook and to rescue Twitter. And then I think somebody did a reading on is Facebook going to survive after it gets hauled down? No, well, it won't really survive, because it's not, I think the technology that's coming now is like it's always messaging. That's why I came up with this messaging thing. I mean, Facebook and all this stuff. It's all messengers. I mean, all messages. It's people are not really talking anymore, like you and I. All of us here sitting here tonight. We're talking to each other. Remember how you used to talk on the phone to your friend about everything and how you doing? It was so lovely. It was so nice. You were talking on a real phone and you could sit there with your coffee and talk for hours. And it was, when you were in the mood. And you felt so great afterwards.
So charged.
Yeah. And on a cell phone, it's just like this weird feeling. It's not the same. It's like it heats up against your ear and it's...
Never mind the radio waves, but it's you can the third party is always present. And it's not just you and the other person on the line.
Yeah, the kind of third party feeling. Yeah, so but if you want to ask another question about time, I know for a fact that all time bows down to zero time. All time is controlled it's with power from the present moment, because a being is an isness, okay? Is existing in a constant state of is, which is the present. Beingness or your not identity. You are in fact a differentiation that is persisting in a present moment. You are nameless. You are not a thing. You are you essentially consciousness. Let's say it's you consciousness with like a whole bit of tricks up your sleeve. You supernatural, like the whales and the elephants and the dolphins and like the tortoises and things. You're supernatural. You get supernatural creatures and score that up. Horses are supernatural. Pets and things. Wow. So you have the supernatural ability that's out there. So everything anchor points itself in present time. You have to have, like I said, the sun revolves around, the galaxy revolves around the sun. You always have this anchor point. So then what you do is you ask yourself, where is, because if a being, present time is a location. Time is actually a location. So is it time or is it something? I get the confused between time and space. But out where you are is, my attention's over there. Okay, well, that's a location. But where is he? So he will, if he resolves where his attention is stuck, like let's say somebody shouts at you, they're really nasty. And you say, that's quite cuck. And this person was shit to you or whatever, and pissed off, whatever, and now your attention's on that person. Or they've angered you in some way, or they've just been like not really as nice as they could have been, or something like that, then your attention is at another location. So you're here and you're there. And then you would want to, so that's how I would just all points lead back to, and then, so that's how I would, when I remote view, and maybe you do the same thing. I guess you would probably use the same points. But what I can say, just to remind you, is that the hardest part is for me to decide whether something's happening now or is it planned for the future and it's only in somebody's mind. So then I have to try and see in the physical universe, is it actually happening? Is it going to happen now? Like that volcano thing I found out about, that island up in Africa. We were looking, Mickey and I were saying, which island is it? Is it this one? Is it that one? Is it that one? And
I just saw this massive volcano and like half of the island just fell into the sea and caused like a massive wave.
A wave.
We were looking for this volcano. We were like, where is the waves? Like 2 days later, it popped on the news and it's that one from the Spanish island.
Yes, it did. But that was about 3 or 4 months ago.
Yeah.
So I thought, maybe it's just a joke. Maybe someone just thought of it. But I can tell you that it was planned. See, I know it was planned because
that's why he's picked up on it.
It was planned for that to happen. That actually is not an accident. We think it's an accident, but it's not an accident. But there was an explosion. I didn't see all that lava coming down. It wasn't so much lava. It was just a very big explosion.
Yeah.
So then I thought, well, which island could it be? So I was just looking for volcanic islands. So sometimes it's not easy. You can't always pinpoint what's going to happen and what is happening. So then I say, okay. So
yes, I agree with that. Yeah. I find that quite difficult.
Yes. Not
What?
and it's not fair, with remote viewers to have pressure on us. We're not like that sweep machine when you walk into the shop and you stick in 50 cents and you turn that, this old-fashioned sweep machine, and you just go click and a gumball falls out, and hey, they just want us to sort of, because I've noticed people are not really that appreciative of remote viewing. It's a lot of work. It can tire you out a lot.
Yeah.
And then they expect, we just want to know everything, I just think, could I tell you something? And no one bothers. No one bothers. So many, almost, not all my predictions, but a huge amount of them come true. And it's like, they're just like, whatever.
And even if we remind them in the video, like in the future, we remind them, it just blows over their head. They're like, okay, well, that's just a given,
Yeah, like I tell them, find a leader. I said in the one video, find a leader, find a person who's been in the military, or an ex-captain or ex-sergeant, or some guys retired, a survival group. And I said this 2 months ago.
It's coming. You need a village, you need a leader to get you through these.
Like a coffee club, so you sit together and you just talk in someone's lounge, and you must be, I told them it must be in your neighborhood, so that you don't have to walk, let's say 10 miles to go for a meeting. You can walk in, you have to drive in walking distance. And that makes a lot of sense now, because with Corona in some countries, you can't walk very far. And if you further than something like 6 kilometers, you're in like handcuffed. And then one group, can go and visit somebody else in the other group. Someone can walk so that they're only let's say 2 miles apart. Someone's lounge or whatever, this guy, and you can sit and talk about stuff, and say, or maybe I feel pretty upset, I've had a shit day or whatever. But there might be 20 of you sitting in this guy's lounge. You don't need to go to a coffee shop if you don't want to and spend money. You can just sit at, like the Russians do. They go sit in each other's houses and talk to each other. You do the thing.
The village thing.
Yeah, because
So
I'm very,
So I have a question.
Sure.
So the volcano popped into your mind, okay? I've also had incidences like that where certain things are shown to me, like terrorist attacks or attacks on kids or whatever, and I don't know where it's going to be or what time frame it's going to come. So is there a way of blocking that out so that those things don't pop into our minds unless we actually consciously ask to remote view something or to look at something, rather than all these things coming at us that we then not quite sure how they fit into the world or, why it was shown to us. I don't know why certain things are shown,
Yes, that's true. I get the same thing. And
that's why I was just saying, I was just whispering in Rob's ear now. It sounds like you're a bit clairvoyant too.
Yeah.
Because it's a bit of like you're not really sure which one's coming up at the moment. Is it your ability, your natural ability of clairvoyance, or is it actually like intentional remote viewing that you're getting these images from? Yeah, so that's why it happens to them a lot. Like, it's either his ability of clairvoyance or it's him actually going out and looking for something.
But then I'll go and I'll hit the internet and just quickly research, because very, very, very often I'll tell Nikki this. She goes and looks on the internet. This is what
I've seen. Go find it.
She hunts for it, and then
I find examples of it actually on the internet. And
I've literally go.
I can also smell like Jean says. I do it like Jean does. I remote view like Jean does. I follow like my whatever sixth sense or whatever on the internet, and I'm like, no, this is not what he's looking for. And then something tells me, click on this. This is where you'll find the answer. So it's close to this, and then I'll click on that, and I'll see some obscure thing like an advert or something in the corner. And I'll be like, oh, that's like, and it was actually leading me to that, but then that got my attention, and then I find it.
It's like with troops moving in the US. I know they're moving around. I know they're there. They're pretending like they're not. They can't bullshit me. I know that they're moving things around. So I'm sitting saying there's going to be troop movements. Now, it could be this month, but it's for November as well, because they're gearing up for, it's like an end of year. It's done very sort of stealth. And then somebody sent that little video of Tiny Clip. of this enormous barge with all of these military vehicles stacked from one end right to the other, like the size of a football field, just stacked to the roof with military stuff, going down some river. But I'll still look for it. And I know that there's going to be shootings happening, as well, like, because that's the military movements around the States. And then also in other places in the world, they're sort of sneaking around. It's almost like they've completed one cycle and now they're kind of rearranging themselves. Because, I mean, obviously, when you think of something globally, it's pretty big. So you're not so zooming in on, let's say, Canada, Israel, or something. But so then I know that there's a reconfiguration.
And also another thing that when Rob, at the beginning of this year, I did like an hour live remote view that I was filming him for, just like for our own keeping. And he saw a vision. It was really hectic to remember that murder.
Oh yeah, terrible.
He saw like a huge warlock. Memorial is
the Lincoln Memorial.
Yeah, opposite the Needle in Washington.
Yeah,
and he actually saw this warlock doing sacrificing my mother. She was pushing her baby in the pram in the evening, and he still saw the lockdown gates were still around the Capitol.
No, it was.
It was when they'd just been taken down.
It was a random person.
Yes. That
they picked up, and they would just slaughter them.
Yeah. And they actually did it on the steps in between the two pillars.
Like a random person.
Yeah.
Because it's this. So I saw the whole thing, how we did it, who we picked.
What she looked like.
Just slit her throat and just like almost basically slit her from the top up like this and just like waste her and make sure she bled all over that monument and walk off. It was a sign of authority.
Yeah.
It's like, I rule this fucking place.
Yeah, and it was like
I lost my
underworld,
temper.
really.
Yeah.
It was the underworld, and he was getting pissed off. And this was his like rebellion to assert his dominance over the overworld.
Yeah, because you see and then I saw the warlocks in every region. I don't know if Gene Decode knows that. Then I looked and I could see that everyone has each region
has a main warlock that controls that region.
And I think there's like 5 of them in the world. There's not even that. It's so few, and the one is under Washington DC.
Like one in every continent, basically. That's what you saw. Like
yes, like basically they are, and because the people that run the cabal really at the end of the day are the kind of are females in the end, like
high witch or something like that.
Yeah, stuff like that. And then the warlocks maintain order and law, and a warlock can slaughter anyone. Like, let's say there's a meeting and there's 5 businessmen there, and they go down into, most of them don't do underground bases. They just do what you call basements. They go into the basement. They have all these basements and sort of like the tunnels under Washington DC. They're just there. It's not like you're going like 10 kilometers down.
No.
And then they'll be doing this thing. And then if one person, let's say, betrays the group or does something that is if something is done that compromises, let's just say you did something really stupid or something that is, then it's a penalty. And the warlock is the one that dispenses justice, will just decide. And the guy can just be slaughtered right in front of everybody and say, well, that takes care of it. So I saw that thing.
Yeah, so what I was trying to say is that you can also see future events because that's what he saw, and it was very, very vivid, like gruesome details. Like he was actually like crying while he was actually remote viewing that I was filming him with, and he was telling me all the details, what she looked like, where she was when they grabbed her, how long the ceremony took. He was showing me all the little, there's like symbols carved into stone on the steps where she had to bleed onto or to be like a proper blood sacrifice, like all the details. Like it wasn't just like a little vision or blurry or anything. It was like super, super detailed. And so we tried to reach out to a few of the white-hat people just to warn them that it was going to happen, because he was wanting to make a statement. It was like, I want this to be on the news kind of thing. Like we were just trying to put it out there to warn them. Didn't get any responses, but obviously something in the timeline changed. So even though he viewed the future, something intercepted it. And so It's not just stuff you're seeing that doesn't come true sometimes. It's just that you did see it and it was going to come true because it was intentionally planned that way. But it didn't end up happening because something came in.
Right. Or it's happened and no one says anything about it. It's covered up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now
That's
you
probably
research,
more
you
likely.
see, you're totally right about that. I mean, I can know you've got guides, and I can see, and you've got this. I can, in the very beginning, that's why I was smiling when I was talking to you.
Yeah.
I could see it already when you first noticed you. But is the so then it would be, and you're completely right. So what I would do then is just write everything down. If something is really potent, because some stuff is potent, some stuff's a bit not as much. It's a bit maybe not, whatever. And then write it all down and just put it on a page and put the date on, and then that is your work as it stands. Because there's another clairvoyant in the States that predicted, like let's say 150 things. And it puts them down on a piece of paper, and then can just say, right, I've done it, so I've written it down. Because I got so much stuff that I didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
So then I would just get my laptop.
That's the problem.
That's the problem. That's my problem that I got.
Prioritize.
I've got papers like a foot thick of stuff because it just
You
flows.
should see the house. It's just papers on every surface. It's like all these scribbles and everything. It's crazy. It's like living with a madman. So what was just like same time when you watch the murder happening, the sacrifice, there was he followed them into this ritual area. It's actually the oldest church on earth, and it was the very first church. And they have claimed that for themselves. It looks very run down, very like no one would even take interest in it. And he actually went in there. He's with them. He followed them in without them knowing. He was seeing all these weird wooden carvings that he was explaining to me what they looked like. And like a normal person would just see them and wouldn't actually see what they mean, like that, well done. And then he walked into the church and there's all these pews and an aisle that goes off the side. And he said, if we, and I've been looking for this bloody church for I don't know how many months now, trying to find it because it's so significant. He said, if we could take that church out, they would be gone. They would not, that's where they all harvest their energy from. That's where they do all the rituals from. That's where it's like their oldest anchor point on this earth.
Just drew the carvings in it.
And if we could find that out and give it to the White Hats.
It's on a private property. I know that. That's why no one pays it. It's not a massive cathedral.
I've Googled every ancient church there is, and he was doing a drawing of it and trying to explain.
Yeah, I mean, how would you ever find it? It might be in like Liechtenstein or some strange country like Bavaria or something.
Said it's in a mountainous
private estate, and then I mean, this thing about
maybe it's in a castle.
Yeah, because
maybe a castle.
It is near a castle. You're completely right.
It is,
it's those large, but it's a very natural it's a place. It's not like France where you've got those chateaus with those city gardens and all that nonsense. It's
very run down looking but they leave it that way to not attract attention.
Yeah, and you get
but tell them the significance of it, like why you said it was like.
Well, the significance is when I was doing the thing about the Vatican, and I heard the music flowing through the Vatican and
through the walls.
Through the walls, and so I did this board, and I didn't know what it was, and then put on the thank goodness for me, maybe it did it for fun, but I wrote notes there flowing into the Vatican through the walls, and this. Song of Elijah, and then 2 months later about 2 months later or something, they posted the troops singing "These Are the Days of Elijah." It's like a guitar song that somebody was playing, because you must remember these guys are going to very, very bad places. Remember these guys, very bad. So I mean, they get PTSD from it, even when they've had the training. They've got to go have the counseling, and it's quite bad. It's very bad. So then there was the song, and then we showed them the song and said, hey, look over here, these guys are singing the same song. And we did a decode. Also with Elijah.
Trump and Elijah. The gematria behind it.
The gematria behind it, the largest, I can't even remember how.
Elijah's 45, and so it's Trump.
Yeah,
That's president.
yeah, these are the days of Elijah, which is very true. And if you take the biblical story, it's 100% on it, like an allegory or allegorical to.
Yeah, that's the one where we said with the two boys on the cover, Donald Trump and JFK Jr.
Oh, JFK Jr. You'll just get
They're
picture.
like arm in arm.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
And JFK's like the dove, you know.
Yeah, John.
He's John, the dove. It works up on his name, and in the story, it's correct. It's the peacemaker brings.
So how do you deal with? Because I also have that where sometimes it's very traumatic what's shown. This is the reason for my question as to how does one block out things that you don't necessarily need to see for whatever it is if you're working on a few things, because sometimes things are shown as they have been to you, and I find them quite traumatic and quite shaking. Sometimes they really it creates trauma almost. You have to really work at not seeing that vision. And some of them, years later, I'm still seeing, like the bus that was attacked, the terrorists attacked the kids, because it happened right next to me at the stop street. It was shown to me next to me. And so to this day, I can still see it. So that was really the question. How does one not see those things unless you want to see specific, you actually intend to see certain things? That things are just not opened. It's almost like portals open all over the place.
Yeah, it is. Your reach on humanity is great. So that's where the responsibility of leaders come in. When you drop the body, you'll have a tremendous amount of capability. Whereas Bill Gates will be this like dude. All he'll have is gravity. When he drops the body, you're wandering around in like Tartaria, wondering where he's supposed to be, and you'll like report in because he's useless. But with you, in this world, you might not be driving a Ferrari, but you're at that spiritual level. Because of humanity, you've got such a heavy reach on, because you're so humane and so compassionate. Compassionate. It's a very whatever. But you are more than that. It's like and there is. I've had to do I've also been affected by this pain. It's not a pain. It can be very painful. And what I do is, I've complained about it a lot. She knows. Sometimes I'll be in pain for like 7 days or 2 weeks. And what I do is I go to ultraviolet, and I go and I go there, which is really like kind of X-Force. It's the guys that are not on this planet or whatever type of thing. They are. I go to a higher state, of course. So I found the North Pole helped me a lot. Like I went there, and I'm because there's like Lemurian people there or whatever, mixed with Gladians, and it's the one area that isn't. You won't find any earthquakes going off there. Not in the North Pole. You won't. Above the Tiger Forest, you move, and that's on this planet. But I mean, people say you can go to other places, but I believe that the world, as many problems as it has, it's got all the cures for that. You can call it that. Like it's got the solutions. It's got the it can do both. So I go there. That helped me a lot. I guess. Because there's so much loss in the world and so much trauma and so many terrible things that happen. And sometimes to get information, you get hammered. going to the places, like when I came from Switzerland, it's the famous thing. I was screwed for 5 days. I was totally out of it.
Totally
I was like
broken.
Spiritually
even his body was
drained. I was like an old man walking around the house.
We had to like drag him around the block just to like get him some sunshine.
Yeah, it was
some
just.
fresh air. It was really bad.
Logistically, now let's speak logistics. You got to have a being who totally gets you, okay? A being that is in good condition, that you can go and see, and they can duplicate you. You can tell them this, no matter how crazy it seems. Doesn't matter if it's weird or strange. They must take it, You must give it to them. And you must tell them that I'm trying, because you are a person who wants to work. You see, you get people that are spiritual that don't do any work. You get spiritual people who work. You know what I'm saying? So you're a worker. So the thing is that if you do work, you have to wear the hat. You've got to put your hat on. And maybe you do private consultation. Someone sits down and you just read their mind or whatever. That's easy. Or you just, you actually just look into their mind and see what's going on. It's easy. That's just like straightforward stuff. And then you'll do stuff like a remote viewing, which is at a distance. It's not having a guy in the cart right by you, So then, and with that stuff, it's totally, it's 100% fact. And if someone tells me that they're not affected by that, I'll just blow them off and just say, you're stupid. But you just go around collecting stuff without getting affected by it. So I could say that, neither being alive nor
dead.
dead.
A physical being? Or Rob, would the person be if you're suggesting a physical person or an entity?
No, you need absolutely. Well, they're both. Like I get a lot of help from my guides, from the beings that come. If I need help, but I also so I get them and say, and they come to my aid. They've been with me a long time. They know me. I know them. They just. I do that. If I get, because I get very angry when I'm in pain, when I'm, like anyone would, you want to, you fight back, against it. And then ultraviolet is like supreme beingness, serenity of beingness. It's the highest universe that there is. It's knowingness and all that type. It's serenity, and so I will ultraviolet. Those beings are at that level, and I discovered them, a new batch of them, like on this planet, very hidden away. I discovered them because I can bounce from person to person. I don't know if you bounce from person to person, because the emotional links between people. So if you, I'm sure you do that. And so I discovered them when I found JFK, when I remote viewed him and the plane crash and everything. And then there was this emotional, I sort of bonded with him emotionally. And then I found these beings that were, they people, but they not from planet Earth, but they people, not you and me, but they're not from here. So, okay, they're human beings, they look like me, but they're not from here. They're very quiet, graceful, and they are the ones that are steering they caused, as I remember in May, because it was like last year, whatever, May 2020, they are causing a perturbation. It's like a standing wave. A standing wave vibrates like this. It keeps, because it goes up and down, but it's a standing wave. So that's like the, what you call that, electricity around the world. And like the Schumann resonance creates a standing wave that goes around the world, and then eventually it starts to hum, and then the whole thing starts to vibrate. So but they created the spiritual. They created this that they had to kickstart. So those are the guys I go and reach for them and say, listen, I need to be patched up. But I do have someone down here that I can go and see who knows me very well. And then I go to him. He's a German guy. And then I'll go and sit with him and he will duplicate everything. You have to be duplicated. It's like listening is not enough. Listening is good, but when someone wants to see it all, then they must suck it out of you. They must want to take it from you. You have to give it away. Otherwise, you sit with it and you are not fully, totally understood, because some people call that the armor of God and things like how they refer to that or whatever. But always bear in mind that what is released, like what is loose on earth, is what is loose in heaven, as they say, as it's said. So what is let loose, or what is loosed on earth, is what is in heaven. So that's why there's this kind of idea like heaven's all amazing. No, it's God's fighting for his creation. He wants his shit back. He's like pissed off. And we are having a trouble perceiving the supernatural. As you can see, there's no spiritual, the spiritual world isn't amongst us like it used to be like 100 years back. It's kind of gone somewhere. It's not here. It's not amongst us like it was. Like there used to be that thing of all these this ancient spiritual leaders and these people and these, like the medicine man talks about that. Like the Aborigines used to be that way. All this it went on for thousands and thousands of years, and suddenly Rockefeller and Rothschild all piled in there and started to create like Europe. But places like that weren't in the immediate vicinity of where they were trying to dominate got left untouched for quite a while. But if you go to those places, you will still find there's a lot of spiritual feelings that flow through you and things like that. So,
and also like when you would get given something, it's communication. So they're communicating something with you. So they're giving you a visual or a feeling. So you're receiving that. But if you have no one in front of you that you can give it back to, you're stuck with it. Yeah. So you're going to be wanted all the time.
So you find people like that, a support, and it's better off to find someone who's clairvoyant or someone who's very at your level. You cannot have a being that is below you. Never going to work, because you see, you're a person that's got knowingness in you. And they might not have that, and that's not good enough. You have to have a person that's at your level, or
very willing,
or a little bit higher than you are. Find that person in if you live in Joburg, wherever you live, just find a person who's got that they might not be doing the same thing as you, but they are there for you, and then you do that, and then that's one thing. And I will try and think of some other things.
Thank you.
And if you have a partner, I think you have a partner, not.
No, I don't have a partner.
Yeah.
So I would like to ask, this is maybe a bit strange, but since I was little, sometimes I look at a person and then it goes black around them, and then the face changes and the clothing changes. So am I looking at different time phases of that person? Would you know? It's not hostile or anything. I'm just seeing that person with different faces. Sometimes it's got a beard or this or that, and different clothing. Sometimes a hat or, a cloak or.
Yeah, that's normal. That happens all the time. because
So is it different time phases that I'm looking at, different
yes,
timelines?
it actually is really because a being has different beingnesses. His being, I mean, an is be is, as we said, it's an is and a be put together. But some beings, their characteristics are they've been many people. Let's say they might have gone from lifetime to lifetime to lifetime. So sometimes their face blacks out or whatever because it's actually happened. They're not aware of it because they can't see themselves, but you can.
No.
So then, you're seeing. You don't really say much. You won't really say what you're seeing at the time.
No, I've never said anything.
There's a lot of things you don't say, but and then they'll be dressed in different clothes, and that's how you locate them on the time track.
Yeah.
Because what you do is you'll say, oh, like this lady came to see me and she had all this money, and she's like, I need some help, and she was like, I'll pay you whatever you want or whatever. And she came and she wanted some help with herself. So I sat her down and then we chatted with her. And then, you see them in different clothes, whatever. And then you think, well, oh, so where is that? And then you realize because their strongest characteristics and habits and quirkiness go from lifetime to lifetime. They might forget who they were. They might not remember. Because part of games effect is forgettingness. And then when one is out of a games effect, one then recalls or remembers or returns or arrives. And in a games effect, there's no, you haven't arrived. So a being might be there, and then you check in and see this face go black or different things. And then you will eventually realize that there's certain things that are persisting. And then you think, oh, that's interesting. So I try and locate them in the lifetime where it made them who they mostly are today.
Their truest self, form of self.
Okay, I got it. Yeah, okay.
Principal incident, a principal lifetime on the time track. So then I found out there's a story with this woman that I researched it, and I said, I told her who she was, that there was this yellow emperor in China, some guy called the yellow emperor. I don't know who he was or whatever.
Yeah,
and I said,
a yellow emperor, and she was in China, and she worked in his palace. She was like a
concubine in
the palace,
which was prestigious for her.
And he used to have this like hall of this library of all this like very valuable books. And so she'd wait for him to go to sleep at night, and then she'd like tiptoe into the chamber where the library was and go read through all the like sacred information.
That's like a sneaky bastard. And
so he caught her doing it. So Rob saw her doing it. He's like, what about this yellow emperor?
So that's something, you're quite wise. You're not that dumb, you know what I mean?
You've got your hands on some ancient knowledge there.
Yeah, like you're quite savvy. But there was this whole
she could remember
royalty thing, and you can feel it in a being. It exudes out. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. So then I researched it, and sure shit, there's a yellow emperor. I didn't know who this yellow. And then I found there was this sacred book, like a tome that had locks in it and everything, like they always do. And sure shit, there was this book of wisdom that had these locks on, and they told me what the book was. It was such a long time ago. But definitely the principal incident that makes them who they are in this lifetime, you go for the characteristic. And then you will find that if they're strong in them, that you will locate the pictures. It'll just shoot out of their head. You'll be find what they're looking at. And they might not know what you're talking about. You say, it's okay, don't worry. Because they're sitting in front of you and you are supposed to be sat in front of. It's what you do. That's why you
I don't do remote viewing or counseling or anything ever. I've never done that for anyone other than friends, or if people have asked, or if I've been given the message very strongly, then I'll go and share it with people. But I don't do it. Okay. Generally I don't do it. I don't do it. I think it's a bit of lack of confidence because it switches on and off. And I have to be quite relaxed in order to, as you quite rightly said, you need to be in a fairly relaxed state. So if I'm at home or if I'm with people who have quite high energy, then it switches on like that. and I can tap into their family. I can tap into everything to do with them or their surroundings. But if I'm with people who are a bit lower in vibration, it's not going to work. It's very hard work then I think. Maybe I just haven't practiced enough. I don't know.
You're right. You're completely right, because it's now you're cranking. That's you got to crank the handle. That's hard. It's exactly because you can't move through them. You can't get
what you want out of them.
That's when
so solid.
That's when you have to kind of shake them. You got to vibrate them a bit to get the flipping stuff that fall out of their head. But somebody down there, you help them. They will kiss you on the cheek and say you're so special, and they don't deserve to be helped. Because they don't deserve it. So they just want your energy, and they suck more out of you than they get all what you've got to give, and
they
then
just
they
want
walk
to
out
feel
the door.
better, and then you end up feeling shit.
And they don't also.
That's why I told Rob to make a golden rule, because I saw it happening with him. Like people would come here and just like get help and leave, and like he would be worse off. So I said to him, let's make it a agreement. You're only going to help people that deserve to be helped. Because otherwise you will just wait away. They'll take all of your energy and never look back, and you'll be like a dried crew.
Yeah. And a person who's high in energy are the people that you should be rewarded as well. And that's why if you do
exchange.
That you should be rewarded for. You should be rewarded somehow. Okay, fine, they can pay you something for it. Okay, fine. You can always say to them, if you feel a bit unsure, you can say, let's see how we do. And if you get something out of it, then pay me afterwards. If you then decide what you would like to donate. You don't have to say how much.
No.
Like I just say you can decide.
However much you thought it was worth, whatever.
Yeah, you don't have to say, well, it's like the crystal ball, it's 200 Rand a shot, whether you like it or not, you sit down for 5 minutes and off you go.
Because if you actually make a set price, then some of the real good people that you actually could get some physical energy off of, or spiritual energy off of, just maybe don't have that amount around, and then you actually missing out on chopping off your own foot because you
And then you can change thoughts in people's heads. I do that a lot. So I'll link to that person emotionally.
Don't give away.
I'm a bit of a gymnast. So what I'll do, I kind of swing from the chandeliers, and then I'll change their thoughts. And then I tell them you better, and I give them exact instructions. And sure as shit, they F around, and they don't keep it up. They don't, Then I say you stupid, and then they go and it reverses, like somebody that had a fight with, especially in like a relationship. It takes work. And then I change the person's mind, and I tell them exactly what to do, and I go through. It's very specific, very exact. You never say this, don't say that, do this, and then you need to just handle that, so that whatever. And then they listen, and it all works out, and they say it's like a miracle. And
then they think they've done it.
Yeah,
because it all came from them and their own thoughts, which wasn't their own.
It makes me so cross.
Rob is so sly. Rob is so sly that they think that it's there. That's how good he is. And then he doesn't even get any recognition for it, for helping them. They're like, it's all me, man. That was all me. And Rob's like, hello, I told you it would happen, and I'll make it happen. And it happens, and then they think it's all them. So,
So I have another question.
Okay, guys, I just want to interrupt. Sorry. So we've been going on for more than 3 hours now, and I'd like to bring it to a close. There are going to be more opportunities for us to be together. And
this is an important question that I have to ask now.
Okay, but then that'll be the last for today. Okay.
Very patient. Very patient. I've been watching you there.
Yeah, Matt has been very patient.
Which is a very good host, very tolerant.
Yes.
I know that we can go on all night, but I just think, we all have done a lot. And I also want to be sharing this video with others. And I think that it's enough to digest for one sitting. Yes, we love you desperately and dearly, but I think, let's do this last question. And then that'll be like a really good amount covered. A really amazing, incredible,
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
Sure.
Okay, go for it.
So this is a question about protection.
Yes.
So what's been happening the last couple of weeks is I go to sleep and black cars arrive and people get out and they want to take me somewhere. They want to take me because they want information out of me.
Yes.
It's information that I've gathered, not subtly, but rather collected, okay? So I demand to see
Okay.
and I want them to be phoned and I ask for a visual of them.
Yeah.
And they won't give me a visual. They'll do the telecoms, but they won't do the visual. And I say it's not good enough because, they could have anybody mimicking the voice. I say I want a visual, and then I wake up. And it's been quite a few times that this has happened. So my question really is, do you have any recommendation from a point of view of protection other than what I'm asking them, which hopefully I don't know if I'm going with them. I wake up and I'm not sure if I've been with them and if information has been released. I'm not sure. So do you have anything that I could, other than prayer? Obviously prayer is important. And it's, prayers of protection. I do 27, I do all Dr. Macklin's prayers and macabre prayers and so forth. But is there anything else that you could suggest, Rob, that so that these guys can't come and take me when I'm not conscious, when I'm sleeping?
I would say there's this attitudes thing that because anything nefarious always comes with an attitude, or anything non-optimum always comes with an attitude. It's an attitude really that you're dealing with. So then, because it always comes out like that. There is an exercise that you can do with attitudes, but you need somebody else to do it with you. You can't do it by yourself. So I'm busy in the Mercury stuff I'm doing here, the James effect. I was working out how to do it. It's quite effective, but I've just got to do it. I've just got to run through it. So that because sometimes you get beings, you get these beings, because you can attract like black static beings, that think what you're thinking. They think thoughts for you, they think thoughts with you and for you, and they're playing a game. And because they're black static beings, work of stimulus response. So they don't, they're not aware that they are doing what they're doing. So because you are a transmitter and a receiver, you're putting things out, you're getting in, and you're doing this type of thing. And so they're stimulated by you. They get interested, and then they want to be like you, but because they're not emotionally, they're down there. They see, it's like a controlling, like this is how you would control this person, by thinking these thoughts. So if it's a complaint on your behalf, then it's other determined, which is not your own. If you were like, it's cool with me, I don't really know what people do. Well, I show them the middle finger. That's my kind of, really, you think you're just going to think a thought that's not me, and that's you just so busted. It's just, whatever. First, but then I'd have to check with you, because you can have instances where an incident did actually happen that approximates. That's what happened to me. I was put in a world into it, something sort of the same happened to me, and I thought that it was that it didn't happen when in fact it did, and then later on I found that it actually a memory. Did happen. So it was actually a memory of something happening. It's so similar to what you, because it's
like interrogation.
The situation approximates
That's what
who
they're
you are in
trying,
your life.
interrogate me, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I got interrogated. I got tortured for like 3 or 4 or 5. I don't know how many days it was because I was so stuck. I couldn't remember which day it was. And they had me in this chair for like 7 days. You know, obviously, over and over and over, trying to get out. How did I find this out? Who am I connected with? Like where do you fit in? Because I didn't know anything. So. But then
they also wanted his information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, and then I sorted that out, and that's the way that I sorted it out. I developed this attitude thing because I had this attitude, and I had all this grief and this heavy pain, heavy grief about being what I was, type of thing that I had to and I managed to sort it out. But at the same time, I've then thought to myself, if I put it into a special package, I can maybe get someone to do it on that person. But you need a little bit of training to do it so that it gets done properly. Otherwise, the person that help out.
Okay.
So that's also why I think with Amanda, with other people, I'm hoping to do when I go on holiday. That's sort of work.
Okay, great. Great.
I would say, if it's not your effect, if you didn't cause it, then it's other determinism. It's from another source. It's not you. It's not self-determined. It's not your own. It's not you doing it. It's like something that is irritating.
Down to you.
So you must say, you must always, if any being tries to create an effect around you, beings can create any effect. They can duplicate you. They can copy. They can be a copycat. They can dub in and create things that you think you're thinking of. So what you just said is, what's your business here? What is your business?
Okay.
What do you want? What are you looking for? State your business, because that's lower down. So a being with high energy is going to give you that, or play a game with you.
And you've got authority, so you have the authority to ask them, what is your business? Because you're an upper being and they're lower. They're trying to hijack off you or create an effect on you.
Yeah.
So you have the authority to get that question out of that answer out of.
And the trick is, just to end off, Amanda, because I know we haven't got much time. It's just that don't let other beings think thoughts for you.
Yeah.
That's their biggest trick. They try and think thoughts for you, or
make them your own.
Yeah, that type of thing.
Convince you that you're the one who's thinking.
Yeah, that's it.
Exactly.
If I think of something else, I can also maybe.
Thank
if we
you.
do chat again, I will see if I can do. Yeah, I hope that helps.
Thank you. I'm so grateful that we had this time together. Really, I am, because there are not very many, in fact, there's been no one that I've been able to speak to like this. It's been really great. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us. We'd definitely love to do it again soon.
Yeah, we'll do it again.
Yeah.
We'll do it again.
Whenever you
That
have
would be
time.
lovely. That would be really great.
Yeah, I just want to also just say thank you, and thanks, Diane, for all those deep questions. And thanks, guys, for the time, because, it's like such a rare commodity that we can just be together like this and unfold just wide, go a bit wider than this tiny little, like compressed bandwidth.
No,
So there's a massive generosity in your energies, and I really appreciate and love you very much, and very grateful that we found you, that we can kind of expand a bit together. So thank you guys so much for your love and time and presence and nurturing our community and everything. We love you all very much. So, and we'll see you.
3 videos here. You can just chop, an hour here and an hour there. You can have.
And we'll see you definitely again. I've been just encouraging Rob and Mix to maybe do like what Jean does, charge a certain amount of money, like for webinars, and just, so that we can just exhale a bit and like stretch out, open. And, because you've got the kind of information for this wide bandwidth, and people enjoy being with you so much. So.
Yeah, well, you're a good host. I mean, you set a good tone for the whole thing, keep it light. You try and keep things lighthearted and, and I enjoy that. When you have a bit of fun, it makes it even more good being together, because I like that. I'm
a nice safe environment.
Yeah. And also, just what I find makes me lighthearted is going to find out wherever you can find a video shop and go there like I did the other day. Hire some cool movie that you just loved when you were younger that you watched. Like I got Close Encounters of the Third Kind, like something cool that I loved. And then, and I was thinking about roller skating when I was younger and how he doesn't use a tape deck and he used to do all these cool things. So if you can try and get a bit of nostalgia in your life, it would really help a lot. It would make you, those cool things you used to do when you were just younger.
Yeah. Awaken that feeling
keeps you lighthearted. And what Amanda's doing, she's connecting people that have abilities and can really, I love the questions you ask because, so that's like a good thing. It's very,
that we can share.
Makes me feel like I'm talking, to someone who has the same, reality or interests or whatever, and it definitely is a feel-good experience for me anyway.
Yeah, it's very precious for me as well. I really love it. And so thanks everybody. This is going out to some of the rest of the community as well. So there'll be other people that are interested in this group. And won't you guys just tell us how to find you? So, I mean, obviously I'll upload this probably to BitChute because based on the language, the freedom that we've used today, it won't be going down on YouTube, but it'll be, I'll put your details, your video and your Telegram group and all of that underneath. And I guess that those are the two places, the main two places to find you.
Yeah, we have opened a BitChute channel just as an emergency if they slash our YouTube one for whatever reason. Can't be too careful nowadays. So I think we've like loaded 1 or 2 videos on there.
Yeah, this one.
One there so far.
Topical.
Yeah, the very first one. So it's it's there. It's just a backup. But we are on BitChute too.
But it's fine. We'll just, anyway.
Yeah, Telegram, YouTube.
Yeah, so it's Rob Mercury Chat, right? Is the one that's working at the moment. Rob Mercury Chat is the Telegram channel. Okay, wonderful.
But then we have Rob. Well,
no, it's fine.
Okay, never mind. I don't understand how half of it works.
All right, beautiful people. Well, thank you so much. And we love you lots. And
thank you, Amanda.
Kisses and happy holidays. And
thank you for organizing it, Amanda.
Yeah, we'll be doing more. I promise you. We've got far to go and lots of. We can all travel together into deep space. Exactly. All right, everybody. Bye. Lots of love. Bye, Ash.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, Abby. Bye, Katie. Bye.
And thank you, Amanda.
Pleasure, love.